Great to see everybody. Happy Monday. Ohio week. Very exciting.
Starting the right, Larry.
Jim, this rivalry has always been heated, of course. It seems like there's always been a fair level of respect between the coaches. It's hard to determine what that is right now. What would you say is your respect level for Ryan Day and their staff?
It's all about our preparation for Ohio. The days, the minutes, the hours, everything leading up to this game. That's where our focus is. Preparing ourselves and planning, gonna practice and then execute. So, anything else is irrelevant, when you get into this kind of big game week.
On the back left, Aaron.
Jim, could you speak to last week where you watched the game Saturday, who you watched it with, and what you saw?
Yeah, watched the game at my brother's house. Great to watch it with him. And what I saw was a great and glorious win. Really happy with the team, and good to be around his football mind too. That was accomplished what we went there to do and got the mission done.
Isaiah.
Jim, you've obviously not been on the sidelines for several games, but especially with a game like this coming up, you've talked about the preparation. How do you prepare the coaches to take on all the extra stuff that they have to take on going into the games that you've had, but especially going into this big game?
Mm-hmm. It's really a battle-tested team, and empowering people. It's really that. Empowering our coaches, empowering our players, and just amazing job that they've done. Amazing effort, and where players have gone about things, coaches, players. I just think back over the last 5-6 weeks, especially. It's just been like a high-pitched siren, like a deafening, ear-piercing noise, and just after a while, you start to tolerate it, and then before you know it, you just block it out. So it's stay on course. That's what our team has done, and just keep the priorities right, and keep the priorities straight, which is faith, family, and football.
Angelique.
Jim, what was your reaction to Chris Partridge's firing on Friday, and whose idea was it to elevate Rick Minter?
That was my idea to elevate Rick Minter.
And your reaction to Chris's firing?
That was I think that statement was put out by our university and described the situation. I don't have anything to add about it.
On the right here, Connor.
Jim, last week you were, I don't know if the word excited is the right word, but you were looking forward to an opportunity to speak in court. What exactly changed during the week to make you guys withdraw that?
Like I just said, the school put out a statement about that, and they addressed the situation. I don't have anything further to add to it.
On the left, Chris.
In the past, you've had the families together for Thanksgiving. Is that the plan again this year, and what now what is?
Yeah, we'll practice Thanksgiving, and then everybody have the opportunity to enjoy the day with their families. Most of the time, families come in town, and those that don't go with another family, and invited to practice. It's always a great day.
On the right, Wojo.
Jim, you mentioned the high-pitched siren, and
Mm-hmm.
your team has dealt with it. But now this week, the two undefeated teams, the biggest game, everything else. Do you think this truly will be the challenge as to how they deal with it and how you deal with it?
It's I go back to that. It's like the Ted Lasso show, believe. What comes out of that is believe, and I'm just so proud of our team. Despite that noise, our locker room's in one piece, and like Ted, for me, locker rooms, a lot like my mom's bathing suits. Like to see them in one piece. And we've got that, and it's amazing. And there's so many lessons to be learned, many life lessons that our young guys are learning at this age, and it's how the world works, and keeping those priorities straight: faith, family, and football. And we're battle tested and ready to go. And now it's all Ohio. The week's all about Ohio. Working really hard to get ready for this game, using the hours, the minutes, the days to hone our focus, get prepared, plan, practice, and then go execute the game.
On the left, Austin.
Jim, you talked a couple weeks ago about Newton's laws and what goes up must come down. What have the last few weeks shown you about the challenges of sustaining success?
Yeah, stay on course. One thing about the noise, and it starts to be tolerated, or then it just gets blocked out, and staying on course, staying on the high road shortens that time to make that happen.
And just as a follow-up, are you confident that you won't have to have any other staff changes?
We are in position to be in position. That's what we know. 11-0. They're 11-0, and everything is all focus and preparation is on this game, as it should be.
On the left.
You mentioned all the noise that's going on around the program. What's it been like for you guys the last couple weeks? People saying all these kind of things, and you haven't been able to say anything to defend yourself.
Yeah, like I said, it's ear piercing at first, then it becomes tolerable, then you block it out. Stay on course.
How do you learn to tolerate it?
Staying on the high road is one way to shorten that time down, but keeping the priorities right. Faith, family, football. That's you keep those priorities straight, then other things become irrelevant.
We got time for two more. Reiner.
Yeah, how much do you think this result can not only determine the future of the program in the short term, but also in the long term?
That's don't have a crystal ball. It's all about this game. That's where our focus is. Getting prepared, getting ready to execute, and I think our team is battle tested, and it's going to be tough to beat. Looking forward to it.
And given all that's going on, have you given any assurances about your future from the administration?
All the focus is on Ohio State. I can say that as many times as that's just where we're at. That's the focus. And that's part of the life lesson, to focus on the task in front of you. And when you got a task in front of you, it's a big task. You got to use every day, every hour, every minute to plan, practice, get yourself right, get yourself in position to go out there and play to the best of our ability.
Last question for Coach Larry.
Marvin Harrison Jr., does he remind you of anybody at any level or league? And what's the key to slowing him down?
He reminds me a lot of his dad. Great player. You got to be covered. You got to slow him down is probably the better word. Do our best to do that, and everything works together. Pass rush. The faster, the more pressure they can put on the quarterback, the better the coverage is going to be. Same with the coverage. The better the coverage is going to be, then that allows the pass rush to get home. So it's going to, like any game, any time you play a team, that team defense is going to be critical. It all works together.
All right, we're going to excuse you.
Well, here's the quote that stood out to me, at least. The locker room is like your mom's bathing suit. You want it to be in one piece. There you go. As I mentioned, Harbaugh will not be on the sidelines, of course. Sharon Moore will. Here's what Moore had to say earlier today.
All right, guys, we're going to get started here with Coach Sharon Moore. We're going to start with Joe on the right.
What do you see out of this Ohio State offense? What do you think makes them really good?
Yeah, they're electric. They're balanced. Travion obviously gives them the ability to run the football very effectively. O-line's doing a really good job of gelling at the right time, and then obviously skill player-wise with Marvin and Mecca and Kate Stover and those guys, they've got guys that can make plays on the outside lanes and feel like the quarterback's playing his best football. So definitely a challenge that our defense is going to be up for.
Was Clay back there? Clay, did you have a question? Did you want to ask?
Yeah, just the last two games, you guys dominated. Are you expecting a similar result? What do you think of their outfit?
Yeah, I mean, I think defensively they're really good. I think offensively they're really good. I think for us, it's just focusing on what we can control right now, which is the preparation into this game mentally, physically, and see what the outcome that is after that.
On the left, John.
Coach, how do you think that the staff establishes a balance between Jim getting across what he wants done in situations and at the same time trusting you guys in the moment on game day to make those calls?
Yeah, I think the preparation that we've had up to this point in training camp and spring ball, all through the season, has really prepped us for these moments to think like Coach does, and at the same time make the decisions that we think he'd want, and obviously situationally being aware of what's going on in the game. So we lean on each other all heavily in all those situations to make the right call.
On the left, Tom.
Jim talked about empowering you guys to be able to coach in these moments without him on Saturdays. This is probably a different situation, though. Do you anticipate him having any extra conversations with you about how to handle the outside noise in the game, the pressures of this game, or do you anticipate going to him and asking him about that?
Yeah, I mean, I might be the one. He's trusted us and has prepared us for these moments. So it'll be probably more so me than anything than him coming to me. But I think our team it's all about the players and how they prepare this week and how they mentally attack it, and looking forward to it.
On the left, Andrew.
Jerome, how has your life changed these last few weeks? I imagine you're hearing maybe from more people. You're the one doing the interview.
Yeah, a lot more text messages. No, a lot more Facebook messages, which I don't really get on Facebook, so I see them pop up on my phone and just like, okay. Probably that more than anything, but other than that, I'm the same person. I'm doing the same things. When I go home, I still get yelled at, so it's all good. And my kids still run the house, so for me, it's the seeing and more interviews, more things. That's the biggest thing for me than managing the game situations during the game. But other than that, everything's been the same.
On the right, Angelique.
Jerome, what is Roman Wilson's status, and also give an update on Miles and the Berries?
Should be good to go. We'll see further, and we'll check with the doctors as we go, as far as all three.
So Roman, you're saying?
Yep.
On the left, Michael.
Jerome, I think after the Maryland game, you mentioned how not much about your day-to-day during the week changes a lot because Jim is allowed to be here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious, is there anything about your time management or things that has had to change Monday through Friday just because you're going to be responsible for more on Saturday?
Probably just thinking more so the situations, and as I plan, obviously when you're calling plays, you're thinking about that as well anyway, so that helps versus being on the defense side of the ball. So, but just thinking about all those situations more so if we're on defense and we're at the end of the half or things like that. So just putting those situations in my head more so times than I would if Coach was on the field.
On the left, Aaron.
How is JJ physically, and how much maybe the live, how much has that impacted maybe the way you guys have used in the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, he's feeling good. I actually talked to him today, and yesterday felt the best he's felt. So just excited to get to work.
Tony.
And speaking of JJ, it's been a few weeks since he's scored a touchdown. Ohio State #1 statistically. Pass defense, a couple other teams you guys have played have been #1 in a category, and you guys have gone through that. I guess what's the key to getting JJ on track or sort of bucking that trend?
Yeah, just get him in rhythm and put a good plan together for him. So just excited for the plan to continue to get installed and execute it.
What does getting in rhythm look like? Why do you think maybe he hasn't gotten in?
Yeah, I think we just got to do a really good job of the plan and executing the plan in all phases: protection, route running, completions, all that. So we'll get there for sure.
On the right, Wojo.
Jerome, we all talk about the outside stuff and Michigan versus everybody and the motivation you guys might have. How much do you guys use what's going on to bind you and motivate you?
I think the kids just do it anyway. They all have a chip on their shoulder, sometimes a boulder, And nothing we talk about internally constantly, we don't harp on. We're just trying to focus on beating this team that we're about to play.
On the left here.
What do you think that those kids have proven about what's being said about them over the last few weeks on the field, and what can they prove this weekend?
They're 11-0, number 3 team in the country, and they're just out to prove that they're the best team in the country.
On the right, Reiner.
Blake talked about before the season championship or bust. How much do you think the long-term future of the program, as well as the short-term future, obviously, is at stake?
I mean, we're just going to focus on this game. We're not going to try to talk about what's going on in the future or anything like that, and just attack today. That's how our kids have gone about their business every week. We haven't looked forward to anything else, and we're going to try to make this the best Monday we've had.
On the left there, Chris.
When you watch the film of Maryland, what are some of the things that you want to clean up offensively going into this game?
Yeah, just more detail, which I think that it's crazy. All the guys were already in yesterday, so they've already started cleaning that stuff up. Just detail on little things and finishing. The first half was really good, except for the last drive, and we drove down the field and had an unfortunate play that he hadn't had since Bowling Green. So just sustaining that same consistency that we had in the first half and the second half, and I think we're ready to do that.
On the back right, Larry.
What do you know about being a head coach on game day that you didn't a few months ago?
A lot more interviews, and then I mean, probably that was the interviews post, pre, having Dave around as much as he can. I learned that Dave is he's phenomenal. I already knew that he was good at his job, but I mean, talk about a guy that's on point at every second. But besides that, I mean, the general feel for me, I'm just trying to do my part to help the team win as the game goes on.
But your role is different on game day than it was a few months ago. I mean, what's different about during the game?
Yeah, biggest thing is probably the game management stuff, and then talking to the refs, where I usually don't talk to the ref at all, and Coach wants me to make sure that I'm doing it. So that's probably the biggest thing for me. Usually I have no association with the refs at all besides pregame. I might know somebody or anything like that, but that's probably the biggest adjustment.
In the front here, Dennis.
Trying to get the prep, but could you set the table a little bit, give us a couple words about what this game would mean for Michigan to win it in 23 for the program?
Yeah, I mean, we all know what it means. It's the game. It's the one you practice, you play for, you work for all year. So we all know the stakes, and that'll give us a chance to go repeat on the Big Ten title. So the words, the prep, that'll come out a little bit more later on down the week. I try to keep it on a low boil this week because I can get pretty high really fast. So the kids are as prepared mentally and physically as they'll ever be to get ready for this week. So just excited to get with them today.
On the left, Michael.
Sure. What do you sense is the confidence level right now for a guy like Carson? And as an O-line coach, what do you say to a guy who maybe had a couple games that didn't go the way you wanted to try and get him back for the biggest game you have?
Yeah, I mean, I think just in general in football, you're going to have bad plays. You play against really good players. So we always talk about Fido, forget it and drive on. And if you don't do that as a football player, it'll harp you, regardless of your position, quarterback, running back, O-line, tight end, defense. All those things happen, so you got to make sure you push on forward because that's what's going to happen. So now you got to refocus and get ready to go.
We got time for a few more. We're going to go Charlie.
Schiano, against Maryland, you went for it on a couple of 4th and shorts, and you went for 2 after a touchdown. Do you expect kind of similarly aggressive play calling if those situations arise against Ohio State, or do they kind of force you to be a little bit more conservative?
I guess we'll see as we get into the flow of the game and as we prepare through the week. So we'll see what happens.
And also, when you were talking about justification, the reasoning behind that, you mentioned some of it was field goal distance. Where do you trust James Turner from? Where is he making it from consistently in practice?
Yeah, I think that all depends on also the wind and different aspects of the weather and what's going on. So just trust our special teams unit and trust Coach Jay and all the decisions. So whenever those situations occur, we'll definitely refer back to that.
Connor?
You said Jim wanted you to talk to the refs more. Did he give you any advice as to how to do that?
No, I don't, and I'm not going to talk to him like how he talks to him. He can say whatever he wants to the refs. I just try to communicate and just get an understanding for what's going on and what they're calling, what they're seeing, and do what's best for our team and help our team as much as they can.
Is that difficult to kind of find that balance live and without much?
No, it's not. I found myself trying to pull back a little bit and not be too aggressive, because you want them to like you. You want to be on your side. So, but it was just all about just communication.
On the left? Yep.
Like you said, it's been a while since JJ's made the turnovers, so I did a while since you managed this. Where you guys at in calibrating the balance between wild buck playmaker JJ and precise read the defense?
Just let him be him. Let him be him. When you got a really good player, you can't put the handcuffs on him. You got to let him play. Let him. He made the mistake and he learned from it, and he won't make it again. So that'll be huge for us as we go down this stretch.
Last question, Angelique.
Schiano, you've seen some pretty good defenses down the road. I mean, Purdue and the Penn State. How has that prepared you for this one? And is the Ohio State defense the best that you've seen on film?
Yeah, I mean, besides our defense, I think they're the best one. Obviously, I think Penn State was up there. I think Purdue's was up there. But the stats speak for themselves, and you see it on film. They're good at every position. They're deep at every position. So it's going to be something we got to prepare for mentally and physically. So we're excited for it.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Coming out, I guess the numbers are down a little bit because some people, I guess a bunch of the students are on Thanksgiving break, which I get. Just kind of going back through Rutgers, we won the turnover battle. We won the explosive play battle, won the third down battle, won the sack battle, won the drive start battle, won the penalty battle. So all those were real positives. I think one of the big positives for the offense was the offense met their explosive play battle and their third down battle, and we only had one missed assignment during the game. So again, Ty and Jay Wan and the staff and players did a really good job. Talk about players of the game. Offense, Bo Perbula. Defense, Chop Robinson. Special teams, Alex Felkins and Riley Thompson. And then the D-squad players of the week, Addison Penn, Jack Lambert, Lamont Payne, Caleb Artis, and Jace Tutty. So appreciate all those guys and all their hard work. Just some last few positives. I thought we played really good complementary football. We emphasized critical stats versus Rutgers this week, turnover margin, field position battle when it comes to special teams, and then the line of scrimmage battle when it comes to rushing, who rushed for the most yards in that game. And we were able to, really be successful in all three of those stats. And then I thought our specialists are playing at a really high level. Our punter, Thompson, 52-yard average. Our kicker, Felkins, 2 for 2 on field goals and 3 for 3 on extra points. And then also 2 touchbacks. And then, Tyler Dzansky doing his job. So all positives. Michigan State, got a ton of respect for Harlon Barnett. As a man and as a coach, he's really well thought of within the conference from all the coaches, and has been there for a while and is obviously a Michigan State guy. Kind of getting into their staff and kind of what they do. Jay Johnson, the offensive coordinator, his 4th year, at Michigan State. They're a spread team, West Coast based, 11 personnel. A wide variety of runs, that center around zone schemes. 11 personnel team, majority of the time. They will mix in a little bit of 12 personnel. We have been pretty impressed with Malik Carr. Big tight end, 6'6", 260 pounds. Really has the ability to make plays in the passing game. Is a challenge there, is a problem there. Running back Nate Carter. And then wide receiver number 83, Montori Foster. All guys that jump out to us on tape. And then defensively, Scotty Hazelton, 4th year at Michigan State, has done a nice job. They're a 4-down front, some variation of either 4-3 or 4-2 when they go nickel. We've been impressed by Cal Halliday, the local kid, playing middle linebacker for him, very productive. Aaron Brule, the linebacker, and then their nickel, slash safety 43 Malik Spencer, and then last their safety number 1 Jaden Mangan. So guys that we got a bunch of respect for. And then on special teams, Ross Ells, their punter Ryan Eckley, number 96, and then their kick return, punt return, number 2 Tyrell Henry. So don't really have any other changes to discuss with you on the depth charts or things like that. No real changes when it comes to red shirting and those types of things. So open up the questions.
Let's go to Rich Garcella and then Mike Gross. You're on deck.
Can't hear you, Rich.
Good afternoon, James. How are you today?
Good, I got you now.
Okay.
Hey, Rich, before you start, string beans or collard greens?
String beans. Although I do like collard greens as well.
Yeah. Some of these I knew what the answers would be before I asked.
Yeah, but I like collard greens.
Dinner rolls or, no, we're not done, Rich. Dinner rolls or cornbread?
Oh, man, that's tough. We usually have dinner rolls, but I like cornbread as well.
What'd you say, Rich?
I said we usually have dinner rolls, but I like cornbread as well.
So which one you going with?
In a pinch, dinner rolls.
Okay. Again, I figured. And then the last one is the best one. The Thanksgiving dinner or the leftovers?
Leftovers.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. Except I'm not going to get any this year because you're playing on Friday.
You take some Tupperware with you, can't you?
I don't know how the airlines will take that.
That's
not
fair.
sure.
That's fair.
Have you learned anything about Drew Allor that you're willing to share with us since Saturday? And if he can't go, how ready do you guys think that Bo is?
Yeah, so if you guys want to speed up the process, have your answers ready to go. Yeah, we expect Drew to go. Just like we planned on last week, I still think both of those guys will have roles. Not dinner rolls, but rolls. And I think Bo will be ready to go. He did a great job. He didn't flinch. The staff didn't flinch. The players didn't flinch, and went in and made plays like we expected him to make. So, but it's too early for me to say. We have not practiced yet since the game, but all indications, I would think we'll be back to normal.
Let's go to Mike Gross and then Donnie Collins. You're on deck.
Good afternoon, James. How are you?
Good, Mike. You got your answers, or do I need to ask you?
Oh, you need it's the same questions as Rich?
Yeah. Everybody's got the same question.
Okay. Collard greens by a mile.
Wow, Mike Gross. I hear you. Didn't
Cornbread
expect
by
that.
a mile.
Mike.
Cornbread by a mile. Yeah. And what was the other one?
The last one was the actual Thanksgiving dinner or leftovers.
Yeah, right. Leftovers.
Mike, me and you are three. I didn't realize we had so much in common, me and you.
Well, we got a thing.
Yeah.
I sense it. Yeah. Okay. Wide receivers. It seems like the last couple of weeks, maybe you'll disagree with this or tell me that I'm wrong, but it seems like the last couple of weeks they have been less involved, not only in terms of production, but in terms of how much they've been targeted even. And I know you didn't throw the ball much at all on Saturday, but Lambert Smith, for example, played more snaps than any other wideout, but was not targeted at all. So are you at the point where you're sort of game planning around as much involvement of the wide receivers as you previously had, or are they just not getting open enough?
Yeah, so number one, that was something we talked about this morning. We obviously want to get those guys some more targets. And I think I told you guys this before. A lot of times we have, whether it's shots, and we had lengthy discussions about that, or targets, and then a lot of times we'll check out of the play because we don't get the look that we were anticipating. But we want to get those guys more involved. We want to get as many guys touches as possible. But I will also say, too, I think our tight ends have been very productive all year long, and I would say, that's been part of it as well, is emphasizing getting those guys more targets. Earlier in the year, you guys said we weren't targeting the tight ends enough, so that's the real reason why we changed it. But honestly, it's a combination of we got to get those guys a few more touches and targets. There's no doubt about it. But there has also been, I think us playing a little bit more 12 personnel and a little bit more of that in the passing game too.
Let's go to Donnie Collins and then Johnny McGonigal. You're on deck.
How are you doing, James?
Good. How are you?
Good. Collard greens, cornbread if it's ham, rolls. No, cornbread if it's turkey, rolls if it's ham, and the dinner is better than the leftovers.
Okay, so wait, say this again about about what you're pairing, because you're doing like wine pairings with the cornbread, right?
Yeah, and it's got to be the good cornbread. It can't be the dried out stuff that you get at some places. But because I can't make cornbread, I'm not good at it. I dry it out, so I have to do cornbread with turkey, and rolls with ham. But usually it's a turkey on Thanksgiving, obviously.
Gotcha. Okay. I don't know if that's obvious, but yeah. Okay.
Well, no, it's a turkey. It's Thanksgiving. It's got to be.
Okay.
I mean, that's my opinion.
Yeah.
But
opinions stated as facts. It's not the first time we've been down this road with you guys. Yeah.
And I would like more tight end targets.
Yeah.
As long as we're asking.
Yes, sir.
So I want to ask about the consistency of the defense from week 1 through, I guess, last week, because you mentioned that every team, every season, no matter what the sport, has ups and downs. But it seems like the defense has been, I would say, consistently productive from snap 1 through the last snap of the last game. Where does that mentality come from? How have they been able to kind of keep that even keel when it seems like it's not an easy thing to do?
Yeah. So a couple things. First of all, we've been fortunate to play good defense here for a while. But I do believe that Manny's done a phenomenal job of not only taking what we've been able to do here over 10 years, but taking it to another level. And obviously we've discussed a slightly different style. This style, you have the ability to be more suffocating, which we've talked about in the past, because there's not a whole lot of gimme free yards on the field with as much press coverage as we play. And then I think he's just done a really good job of teaching and promoting standards of what the standards of the Penn State defense are all about. I think he's done a really good job of teaching the defensive players how to view the game, specifically on the defensive side of the ball, but also teaching football in general, which we spend a lot of time on. And I think Manny's done a really good job. One of the things we talk about, okay, we'll have a message in the team meeting room, and then I'd love the coordinators to take that message and not only reinforce the message, but then also kind of talk about how this connects to offensive football or defensive football or special teams football. And then you go to the position rooms, and the position coaches do the same thing. Manny's done a really good job of that, of teaching football, of setting standards of how we practice, whether it's a full speed drill, whether it's a jog through period, and is just really, really taken the defense to a different level from a consistency standpoint, but then also just kind of the style that we're playing overall. But it's done a really good job, and really the defensive staff. I know I know Manny. I was looking at your name, Donnie. I know Manny would want to credit the defensive staff as well. Anthony Poindexter has been great. Terry Smith has been great. Deion Barnes has been great, and really the analysts as well. And I think that's another thing that's interesting is, Manny trusted, didn't really want to make any changes on the defensive staff, wanted to hire a defensive coordinator and keep the staff intact. and he came here, brought Coach Lister with him, and Coach Lister's done a great job. And those two guys have really done a good job of just kind of melting in with the existing staff and just playing really well. So, yeah, I think your description is well deserved, and Manny's done a phenomenal job, and it's been earned and appreciated across the board.
Let's go to Johnny McGonigal and then Mark Wogenrich.
How we doing, James?
Hey, Johnny, how are you?
Good, good. Green beans, cornbread, and leftovers.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Leftovers are key.
Leftovers that night, or leftovers that morning, the next day, or all above?
All the above, but the leftovers that night after you take a nap during the Cowboys game and then waking up and hitting up the leftovers is, I think, a pro move.
Fair. Is your leftovers like another plate, or is it like a sandwich made with all of it on there?
It's a sandwich.
Yeah.
It's definitely a sandwich. Yeah.
I like what you're doing, John. I like what you're doing.
So James, Nick Singleton, he's had his moments, but it's probably fair to say that the season hasn't gone the way that many thought it might for him after the way he played as a freshman. How have you seen him kind of handle this season, week by week, practice by practice?
Yeah, I guess I understand the question, but I guess what I would say is, to me, there's a lot more to playing well than just the runs and just the stats. So, for example, I think when we go back and grade Nick's tape this year and compare it to last year, I think he's going to grade out as well, if not better, in being a well-rounded football player. So what I mean by that is, if you look at him blocking for Katron Allen on the goal line touchdown the other day, he blocked his guy 5 yards into the end zone. I think that is a distinct improvement from where he was last year. If you look at his ability to catch the ball, run routes, and be a legitimate factor in the passing game, I think he's dramatically improved in that area of his game. So I think, again, if you just take the stats, yeah, I get it. But when you study the game, like I know you are as a true football guy, and really study the tape, I think he's improved as a football player. And I think down the road, when these things are evaluated by the people that evaluate players nationally, I think this year is really setting him up for a ton of success in his future, not only at Penn State but afterwards. So, I view it differently, right? Like there's also players that may have 3 or 4 exciting, explosive runs, but then they're not doing the other things, and fans and a lot of media say, oh, well, he had an unbelievable game, and they really didn't. So I think when you're really studying the tape and all of it, I think he's had a better year.
Let's go to Mark Wogenrich and then Frank Bodani. You're on deck.
Hey, James, happy Thanksgiving. I'm coming to Donnie's house. I'm coming to Donnie's house Thursday.
So does that mean you're?
Oh yeah, cornbread, collard greens, and dinner. Yep, that's mine.
Nice.
So how did you assess the way Ty and J1 called that game offensively, and also before and after Drew left?
Yeah, to me, it's all of it, right? To me, it's all of it. I was very pleased with how we operated from the Lash building and in the office, and how we game planned, how the scripts were done the night before, how the cards were done early for the scout team, and we could look them over and work through in detail. Are these the exact looks we're anticipating and getting in the game? I thought the collaboration, the environment that was created, that everybody spoke up and had opinions, I thought that was really good. I thought J1 and Ty were really good complementary pieces of each other. I thought when they got up in front of the team, they did a really good job of explaining how we are going to play offense this week and how that's going to put our team in the best position to be successful. I thought all that stuff was really good. And then on game day, I thought they did a really good job throughout the game of making them defend the whole field, putting people in conflict, and then also when we had success with plays, going back to them and forcing the defense to adjust. A lot of times you have a successful play, you want to run it before they get back to the sideline again. You don't want to get back to the sideline and let the coaches get on the chalkboard and make the adjustments. I thought the halftime stuff was really good as well. I thought, I thought the one backed up situation, if I was going to be critical in any area, and I could have been better here in helping them. I thought the one backed up situation where we didn't take time off the clock, didn't get a first down, and put our defense in a position that was not advantageous. That would be the one thing, be a little bit critical of, either we got to get a first down with the plays that we called, or we at least got to run the ball and eat some time off the clock. But besides that, I thought it was really good, and I think they'll build on it this week. I think the biggest thing that I said to you guys before is both J1 and Ty are loyal and appreciative to Penn State, loyal and appreciative to our players, and to the staff. And they've created an environment like that, which I thought was really good last week. And I think we'll refine the process even more this week. And I think it was one of the few weeks again where third down and explosive plays, we met both of those in the same week. And I can't remember a week where we only had one missed assignment. The game plan was smaller and tighter than it had been all year, but still enough to cause challenges to a really good defense. I think Rutgers is a really good defense, and I think they do a good job.
Frank Bodani and then Corey Geiger.
Hey, happy Thanksgiving, James.
You too, Frank.
We're going with string beans for Thanksgiving, traditional, though I do love collard greens. My wife's from Northern Kentucky. Her honey cornbread, gotta go with this. Would you like to try some?
I was just going to say, because I did get the cranberry sauce, I think it was last year, that may have been the best cranberry sauce I've ever had from Ben's mom. So say it again, it's honey cornbread?
Yeah, it's sweet cornbread, not...
Yeah, I don't like the other stuff.
Yeah, the other stuff's not, right.
Yeah.
Okay. So you'd like to try some?
Yeah, but
Bring it up.
I don't know if one slice will be enough. If possible,
All right.
if she can.
We don't make it in slices. We make it in bigger portions. You're
Right,
good.
right. I'd like the whole portion if possible for me to really be able to tell.
You got it. All right, we'll make it happen. And Thanksgiving leftovers for a week afterwards. Okay.
For a week.
Yes.
When is it getting on the edge?
Okay. As long as the turkey's good. Sorry, in parentheses.
Okay.
There we go.
All right, good.
So Bo Pribula we haven't seen him throw the ball much. Talk about his pass game. Had you hoped to get him more pass attempts earlier this year? And can you just talk about his throwing game for us?
Yeah, so I think a couple of it is it's situational, right? Like we've had passes in for him every week. But then you also get into a situation where the majority of his reps have come in 4-minute football where you're trying to run the ball as much as you possibly can. And by running the quarterback, you even the numbers out. it's funny because I went up to him on Saturday, and although there was a lot of time left in the game, we still wanted to milk the clock. It's funny, one of the chain gang guys was kind of upset because we were in the huddle too long early in the call, and I'm like, we're doing that on purpose. Like, we're in a good position with the game right here. We want to put a really good drive together. We want to eat the clock. And I said something to Bo about it, and Bo was like, yeah, I'm used to this. I know how to operate. This is what I've been doing all year long. So yes, but again, I think part of it is just kind of where you're at in the game, and does the situation warrant that? But as you can imagine, there's been more in his package than what you've seen. Yes, sir.
Last question from Zoom, Corey Geiger.
Corey.
Morning. Good afternoon, James. I hate all these things you guys are talking about with the food. I don't eat any of it. So
You hate them? It's not even that you don't like them. Like you hate.
I eat turkey, stuffing, yams, smother it all with gravy. That's it. I only eat one Thanksgiving meal a year. I only eat turkey once a year. Those are the only things I eat. I'll eat 5 pounds of it, but that's it.
And you said you eat what again? Turkey, you said stuffing and gravy.
Turkey, stuffing, yams. It also has to be stovetop stuffing, not the bird stuffing. So I'm pretty particular.
So does that make you particular that you like stovetop? Is that?
Yes. Over the I hate bird stuffing. It's I make my own stovetop, and everybody else eats the bird stuffing.
Did you call it burnt stuffing?
Birds, the
oh,
stuffing
bird.
that's inside the bird.
I thought you said burnt. I'm like, it doesn't have to be burnt.
I will say this: my wife cooks an excellent turkey, so I hope everybody else can say that as well.
Yeah, nice recovery.
Yeah.
So do you not eat vegetables in general? Are you a non-vegetable?
No, I do not eat vegetables in general at all unless it's smothered with ranch dressing. So.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm in bad shape. I work out a lot, but I'm worried about the vegetable thing.
Do you take vitamins?
Yes.
Okay. Wasn't there somebody recently that came out publicly said they've never eaten a vegetable?
Al Michaels.
Yeah.
All right. I've got an easy question for you, although this might be hard for you to come up with an answer. What are you most thankful for with Penn State football and being the coach?
So you're talking about specifically professionally and with football?
Anything, any criteria you want. Just what are you most thankful for about your situation?
I think the people, I love the players that I've been able to get to know and their families on a significant level over the last 10 years. And that's probably become more, I probably have become more aware of that, even to be honest with you, because of Vanderbilt. Like, it's amazing how many of those players that played for us at Vanderbilt have stayed in touch, have come here to visit, that I connect with when I'm out of town. Those relationships are real significant relationships. You see players coming back to games here or on the road. The relationships with the players and the ups and downs and twists and turns of what healthy relationships go through with the staff, all the people that work in Lash Building, all the different roles. I think about the people, on campus that I've been able to develop relationships, whether it's Neely Bendapudi, or whether it's Michael Wade Smith or Pat Kraft or Vinny, Matt Schuyler. I think back to people like Dave Joyner, who hired me and gave me this opportunity, and Sandy, and Eric Barron. I just think about the people. I think about the quarterback club, which was something I was like against when I got here. I'm like, I'm going to go over during the week. And that relationship, I look forward to that now. with the quarterback club. Sometimes you don't necessarily want to go, to the press conference and answer questions. Sometimes you don't want to go to the quarterback club and answer questions. But I'd say the people, Steve Jones and Jack Ham and, just the people. It's Chris or Greg. I think at the end of the day, that's really what it is, right? It's about relationships and people. And you got your family, and then you have your extended family. So that's probably the thing I am most thankful for, is all the wonderful, different people that I've gotten to know. And I think you guys have heard me talk about this before. I think that's what's so great about college football, is the locker room is full of people from totally different backgrounds. And I think our world can learn a lot from a college football locker room, because literally you got people that could not be any more different from the way they were raised, from their educational experience, ethnic backgrounds, religious diversity, and it's as good as it gets, in my opinion. And I think a lot of people could learn a lot by being a part of a college football locker room, and probably a lot of sports, to be honest. I think that's where sports are so valuable to the educational process, which I know is questioned at times, deservedly so, questioned at times. But I think when the professors come and they're part of our guest coach program, I think they leave feeling like, you know what, this is truly a compliment to what they're learning in the classroom. And I'm very proud of all of that. And that's probably the things I'm most thankful for.
I'm really excited about this upcoming game, our 12th final guaranteed game that we can play down in Ford Field. Expecting a lot of Spartans to show up down there. Have a lot of Detroit area guys on our team. Get a chance to play in a NFL venue. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And just like I said, on Saturday, the wives can go out and shop all through the day, and then come down to the game and enjoy our football game in Ford Field. So hopefully all the Spartans will show up and have a great time.
How much, every week we've talked about, sticking together and finishing, but to come back, rivalry trophy and a chance to play for another one, I guess how much just getting to the end, the finish line, and you guys sticking it out this whole time, how much value do you feel in reward and just what you guys have been able to do late?
Well, like I told them again today, we're here now. We can actually see the finish line. I've been talking about finishing. There's a lot of different ways that you have to finish. It's starting with just your play, just that particular play. And I always say that in the series, in the quarter, and all that, in the game. And now we're not only going to do all those things this week, but also it's going to be finish the final game, finish the season. And so we don't stick with that thing, because that's very, very important. Not only in football, but in life, you got to finish everything that you do. If you start something, have a mindset to always finish and do it with excellence. So that's our mindset for this week.
I'm wondering for you, because your coach Perlis helped create this trophy that everybody loves so dearly, is there an added importance to win that? The beautiful land grant trophy?
Yeah, it's very, very important to win it. First of all, to win the game, that's number one, and then the trophy comes along with it. It's something that Coach Perlis created, from my understanding. So that's always big, because he was my coach. So we would love to bring it back home here to East Lansing. And when we open up our new building, we got a nice place we can put it in. Just same with the spittoon. So we definitely want to bring it back home. Honest thoughts about I'm not a liar. I told you I'm not a liar. Honest thoughts about the trophy. It's nice.
Harlan, a lot of guys went down in the game. I guess sort of curious if you have any updates on like Samac was a big one, looked pretty serious. Nate Carter looked pretty serious. I guess anything else, if there's any other major ones, I guess you can think of, because there was a lot of guys.
Right. Well, Samac will be out. He'll be out. Got a chance to get Nate Carter back, and so those are the guys. And then and Brandon Wright is we'll see, lower leg deal, so we'll see about him.
Just how does when you guys went down there with whatever it was, 45, 50, or whatever it was, like how does that affect just practice structure and schedule? I'm assuming you're probably not trying to hit as much, or just do you have to be precautious or tweak some things during the week when the numbers are a little low?
Absolutely. Well, even this time of the year in all of football, you know the hitting backs way off because it is such a physical sport, and so we were backing way off, maybe backing off a little bit more than we normally have, but we would still back off because you got to just get the guys to the game. So we are slowing it down for our guys, not as much banging throughout the week. Make sure, and it's a shorter week as well, and so our guys are they know what's going on. It's more about mental reps than it is the physical reps. That's what we're doing.
How much confidence do you think you guys gained on offense this past week, with Caden and Malik and all, putting up some numbers and now facing another really good defense this week and just the latest challenge for you guys?
It can't help when you play well, can't help but build your confidence. So I'm sure those guys are feeling pretty good, understanding that what we're about to face again. Like I said, every week in the Big Ten, you're going to have to be ready to fight and play. And so here's another challenge for us to go out and fight and play and do our very best and execute, play with great discipline, and then finish. Like I said, we always got to just finish everything that we do. So we do that, we'll give ourselves a chance to win the football game.
Harlan, with Malik Carr, how much is, like, if he is that player, how much does that change what you can be offensively? And where has that player been?
It could change a lot. Going into the Iowa game, I'll never forget, he was going to get used a lot. Well, you all saw the first part of the game, he had 5-6 catches, I think, and that was by design. And so, Malik is a good football player, and I said it the other day when I was talking about Sam being Malik is I like guys like that. He's very, very, very confident. He's close to cocky. He's border, but he's very confident in his abilities. And when you're like that, you can go out and do things like he does. He's not shocked by those things when he does it. It's more like I told you. He hits you with that stuff. But he is a weapon. If we could have used him throughout the season like that, we were all trying to get better. Caden just now starting getting out there, and we was rotating Sam in and those type of things. But he is a weapon for us, and we had some others as well. Great catch by Montori, Lonte Brown, just some guys that I think Caden is just getting more comfortable in what he's doing. So hopefully he'll have another great game this week, and get the ball to Malik as well.
Wonder with Penn State, obviously their defense has been kind of their calling card. What have you seen from that? And then it sounds like their quarterback is going to play, but how do you kind of go into this week knowing he was out for that game and kind of prepping for that?
Well, you always believe that the guys are going to be able to play until you hear otherwise. Sometimes until we see, we don't believe anything as coaches until we see it for ourselves. And so, we expected him to play. We're expecting the quarterback to play. As far as their defense is concerned, they play really good defense. They got good players. They play hard. They understand the scheme, and so and they'll come after you a little bit. So it's what we know what to expect from these guys, and we just got to go out and execute our plan.
What's your travel itinerary with a game at Ford Field? Do you go in Thursday night and hotel there?
Yes, we're going to go down Thursday.
So I'm wondering, hotel, bus trip, does this kind of feel like a road game?
No, I mean, not really. When we stay in state, it feels like home games to me anyway. So, I mean, and to me, like I always tell our guys, it's still 11 on 11 football no matter where you're playing. So the crowd can be a crowd if you be a factor if you let it be a factor, but it's all mindset to me. I mean, they can't play, So they can yell and scream all they want to on either way. It doesn't matter. All right, if you can block it out and just go play ball, what you want to do and I know this is going to be a home game, considered a home game, but when you do go away, I tell them all the time, especially as a defensive player, you want the crowd to say, woo. When you can hit somebody and you hear them say, woo, the whole crowd does it. That's a beautiful sound. It's a beautiful sound.
Are you confident, hopeful that Spartan fans will kind of take over Ford Field?
Yeah, I feel good about it. I think we'll show up and support our guys. Our guys have busted their butts all year long. They didn't ask for this adversity that came upon them this season. And so I would just love for Spartan Nation to come out and show love for our guys, show love for them and respect for them for what they have done this season. They never gave up. They always kept fighting, and they will continue to fight through this game on Friday night. So hopefully everybody will show up and appreciate our guys for that.
Harlon, I was wondering how you thought Dallas did taking over for Nick, first drive, and then he plays the rest of the way. I think that's the most action we've seen of him, and just, taking over for a fifth-year senior and how he performed.
He did a good job. Dallas is a good football player. He has great attention to detail. He's going to always try to execute to the very best of his ability because he cares. Excuse me. So he did a really good job. He's going to be a good player for us, and I'm glad he's on our team.
Just curious if you remember much about that game in 2010 when you went down to Ford Field and what the positive takeaways for playing down there.
Yeah, I do remember that. I think it was FAU we played down there, and it was just the atmosphere itself. You got to talk about the tick marks, the hash marks and all that stuff, because a lot of times those NFL fields will keep the NFL hashes or the numbers in place, but they'll put the tick marks. So these are our numbers. You just got to understand those type of things because it does matter. It does matter on how we align and do certain things, especially on defense. So we'll be talking to our guys about that. But like I said, it's a football field. Them guys know how to play. And some of these guys have played in there. If they played in, from the Detroit area, playoffs or whatever it may be. So or been in there before, so they won't be, overwhelmed, I don't think.
Harlon, with this being, you mentioned that you can see the finish line finally, but with so much uncertainty behind that finish line for you, for the players, for this program, what's it like to go into the final week knowing that this is kind of the last game with this group?
Well, we'll get to that. Really, I try not to think about it, to be honest with you. Until we get there at the end, probably say something on Thursday. It's Thanksgiving. You got all of that, and you get all these emotions involved and all that kind of stuff. But really, it's after the game. We'll just share what we think. I'll share what I think and of the season and how everybody's done. And like you said, uncertainty all over the place. But at the same time, excuse me, that life goes on. And in some cases, some people don't care. Nobody cares. So that's how life goes. But you can just keep pushing, and that's all I know to do anyway. And so nobody will quit. This team knows it better than anybody, in my opinion. They understand adverse situations. They understand, there's uncertainty and all of that. But to just keep going. If you keep going, if you finish, then everything will be okay.
I'm wondering what you notice in their run game, what makes that go for them, and defensively, what are some of the important things to do to stop, especially when you guys are a little thin at D-tackle, or could be, I guess?
They have two really good backs. Their running backs are good, and they balance off. They play off each other from how they run the football. So their backs are good. Their line is good. And they do a good job, period. Understanding how to hit holes and read their blocks and all those type of things like that. And then you asked about their defense. Is that what you said?
Just your defensively to stop them. Okay?
I got you.
Especially if you're maybe a little thin
I got you. That's why we're backing off our guys a little bit to make sure they get to the race on Friday night. But our guys will be ready to play. We have a good front, really good front. And they do a good job, and they've been playing hard all year. It's one of those things where, hey, there's nothing to hold back. We're not trying to make it to next week's game. It's just all out. So they're gonna give us everything they have, and they've been doing it anyway. But hopefully it'll be even more because hey, I don't have to save myself anymore. I can get a chance to heal up after this game.
Coach, if we consider the situation where
you do get the win over Penn State, and the Spartans are 5-7. There would be a potential scenario to accept a bowl bid if the stars kind of align. Has there been any discussion based on some of the injuries and uncertainty of whether Michigan State would accept a bowl in that scenario?
Good question. That there hasn't been any discussion on that, and you're right. I know I've heard about that before. You know, guys have opportunity to win 5 games and go to a bowl game, but we haven't discussed that. We just focused on the Penn State deal, and if that comes about, we'll talk about it when that happens.
I'm wondering for you, we're now, 1 game left in the season. Looking ahead, first let's look back. How has this year been, since you took over the job, and what's your elevator pitch to moving forward to get the job if you want it full time?
Okay. So the first question is look back how it started and everything. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and the process throughout the year.
Well, I got you. Okay, I got you. I've definitely, in this position, I've grown. Like I said, way back when it first started, I said there's a rhythm to things that you do. Just like when you first become a reporter or wherever, I got to catch this rhythm of, okay, how does this work? Okay, I got to be here on Mondays at 12:30 and ask questions or whatever. There's a rhythm to how you do things, and so I finally caught the rhythm. I know I got to be here talking to you guys on Monday at 12:30 and some other things that are going on. But once you catch the rhythm and you start doing pretty decent at it, then you start to gain confidence. And so that's kind of what has happened with me going through this and seeing what it's all about, understanding that you're not really a coach anymore, you're more of a counselor. And so I've learned that. But as far as the job itself and wanting the job, and I do want this job as the head football coach, and I said this before, there's nobody that they can go find that loves this place more than I do, and I don't think will do a better job, because there's something to loving a place and caring about a place as opposed to just going there for a job, if that makes sense. So, there's extra that will be done, above and beyond understanding the place. I understand what Michigan State is all about and our alumni and our fans. And so that's where I think you said elevator pitch. That's the first time I ever heard that. I never heard that, elevator pitch. All right, my fastball, how about that? Or whatever you want to call it. My blitz and knock somebody out, how about that? But that's my deal. I am a Spartan. I bleed green, and there's nobody that they can find to do a better job. Maybe equal to, because I ain't gonna do that. Cocky, not confident. I mean, confident, not cocky, excuse me. But there's nobody that they can find better. Maybe equal to, but not better. How about I say that? That's fair, right?
Harlan, and to follow up on that, the nature of the beast is now when there's a coaching opening with the early signing period, it's done pretty quickly. Are you a candidate? Will you get an interview? Can you tell us where that stands?
Yeah, I was told several weeks ago that I would get an opportunity to interview. I do not have a specific date, and so that's what I know right now. Yes.
But you want to interview?
I asked. Yes.
Harlan, do you expect Maverick to be back this week, and then, first of all?
Got you. Yeah. We're hoping that he's back. He was out there today in a limited role, but we're hoping to get Mav back.
And regardless, I guess, how do you view the depth of that position? Because you had a redshirt freshman walk-on guy who was an offensive lineman last year playing in the first half. And do you move anybody
Ben Nelson,
around?
say his name.
Ben Nelson, yes.
Ben, yeah, he's a human being. Yes. So next man up. There's no excuses. There are no excuses. So the next man up, that's what this team is. We had no problem putting him out there. Let's go. And he did a decent job as well. But yeah, hopefully we get Mav back. We got Simeon, we got D Harm. We got those guys that will step in and do a good job for us.
Along those lines, obviously the 2 receivers with Jerron and Trey, do you expect them back? And do you expect any of the other guys? Because, there's a lot of guys like Chuck who have been on the list most of the season, at least since the Washington game. But do you expect anybody else to come back for one more?
Not that I know of right now, Chris, no, not right now.
When it comes to back here. When you mentioned the finding rhythm, like that's something I can relate to because I'm trying to figure out my rhythm right now.
Right.
How long do you think it took you, or what was that turning point when you finally felt like, okay, my head is above water again, like I don't feel like I'm drowning with all the responsibilities, I can kind of start focusing on coaching and everything else?
That's a good question. With the combination of the we were losing, so we lose 6 straight. So I'm in there, I'm trying to figure it all out. I'm like, what is going on? So if I had to guess, I would say somewhere between the Iowa game, after that game, and Rutgers-ish area, I started saying, okay, all right, this is what it is. This is how I got to deal with it. So right around that time, I would say.
Yeah, Harlan, at this time of year with freshmen and sophomores, you're starting to get a little bit more of an idea, I would imagine, about what they are all about. Can you look in the future to see if there are some future leaders in that group that have shown themselves in recent weeks? What would you forecast there in terms of future leaders in the programs amongst the young guys?
Yeah, Jay Hall would be definitely a future leader. He's already a natural-born leader anyway. 3-time captain at IMG amongst a bunch of so-called stars down there at IMG, and he's a 3-time captain, and he's shown that here. Jordan does a great job of communicating and knowing what to do. Extremely smart individual. So he's a young guy that I would say that has a chance to be a really, really good leader here for us. Similar to Kirk Cousins. I'm not saying he's Kirk Cousins, but Kurt was a three-year captain here for us, and he has those type of leadership qualities. That's the one that would jump out at me right now as the young people.
Get something off first before we kind of get into last week and this coming week. Obviously, it's a huge week, but just want to say my condolences to Christina Navarro, her family. She was the AD at Platteville, and she passed away this weekend, or I don't know exactly when, but she was really, really big in us being able to go to Platteville and being able to take care of everything for us to do what we did this fall camp. And so my condolences go out to her family, and don't know a whole lot about it, but she's obviously a Madison native and a UW grad. I think got her PhD here. So really, really, really tough time for them there. I'm sure for the family as well. So moving forward, I think more than anything, I want to say thank you as well. Saturday did not start off the way that we had envisioned. We talked about that the last time I was in here. And to be honest with you, had we not been the environment that we had on Saturday night, had we not had that student section, the fans, I'm not sure we pull through and play the way we did after that first quarter, to be honest with you. And I know there's some things that happen and some sparks, and that's what you got to have. But when you're kind of backs against the wall, you need every little bit of things that you can get. And that environment, that atmosphere was really, really, really special. So sometimes you complain about playing late at night because you sit around all day and you're like, oh, man, we waste the entire day. But there's a reason why you sit around and play those games later at night. And I thought that was a huge advantage for us, our team, our guys, and where we were and what it is that we needed. So thank you to everybody, obviously, that came out, especially to the students and things. It was a much-needed boost for us, especially the way we started that game. But with that being said, we got to move forward, and we celebrated. We enjoyed. There was a lot of things on Saturday night, but most importantly, that when we walked back in here on Sunday, we knew what it was about. It's about rivalry week. It's about getting the axe and making sure we understand and respect everything about this game and this rivalry, so that we're the most prepared team. And I think that's what it really, really comes down to. Everybody wants to play on Saturday. Everybody will be fired up. Everybody will be gung-ho. I mean, it's a rivalry game. It's going to be huge. But what do you really like on Sunday, later on Sunday? What do you like on Monday? What do you like on Tuesday and Wednesday? And in the midst of all the other things with the Thanksgiving week, can you handle all those things and still make sure that you're the most prepared team? And that's the challenge that we got in front of us.
Look, I know Tanner's obviously missed some games with that injury, but overall this season, what do you think has been his most important contribution just in general to the team, what you've gotten so far?
His passion and leadership. And I mean, I could say a lot of things about him, but, his ability to, not be a renter, right? I mean, a lot of guys would probably question a guy that walks in the door here that's got 1 year, and how do they handle all the situations, right? If everything goes well and everything goes perfect, it's not that difficult. But, when things don't go exactly as anyone planned, you really kind of test the culture of your program, really test the drive and the things like that. And I would say more than anything, his commitment to everything that he said he wanted to do, the guys in that locker room, is one that I'm not sure that that anybody else has. Not saying here, but I just mean in the situation that it is incredibly impressive to see, his mental, his focus, his leadership throughout all the things he's had to do this season.
Luke, when you have a rivalry, as storied as the Axe game, I'm just curious what it's like when you're meshing a completely new staff and a bunch of new players with a program that a lot of these guys have already been here before. Just what's the approach like?
Well, the good news is a bunch of guys that I've been with and coached with, and they truly have the same belief as me, the respect of rivalries in general, no matter where it is that you are and go. And in order to do that, you got to study, you got to do a little history on it. So a lot of people I know that this is their first opportunity at this rivalry, respect incredibly, just because of who they are and where they've been, and we've been through it before, regardless, regardless of what the rivalry was and where you were at. And then obviously the guys that have been here for so long, they are the ones that lead us. We always talk about the seniors. In this past week, we talked so much about the seniors being the guys in the forefront and the example of everything. Well, the guys in this locker room that have been in this rivalry understand that we ask them to be the ones that are in the forefront of it. Whether they've been here for 6 years, whether they've been here for 2 years, make sure that they are the example of what this thing really means.
Just to follow up on that, in the past, and coaches obviously are different, but past coaches have had guys step up in front of the room and talk about the rivalry and what it has meant to them or what it means to them, give a little bit of a history lesson. And how do you approach that?
We did that in the summer. We did that in fall camp. We did that in a lot of different ways in those times to make sure that it's not just about, okay, the rivalry is important that week, right? The rivalry is important on that day. It's important all the time. So some of the off-season, work that we do is spent making sure we understand the respect of the rivalry. I'm not a guy that just because one guy is going to step up there this week and say something, it's kind of like me, right? I mean, I give some fiery speech, and that's going to make us a different team. No, it's challenging our guys to understand and respect the deep roots of this, and that's through the summer. That's in spring football. That's in winter. And that was in fall camp. And to me, that's the things that go deep. We did some nights where we did have guys that stood up and talked about it. I don't know if it's as necessary on a week like this, unless you had somebody probably from the outside that was walking in here, but it would have to be a unique individual because that locker room understands what this thing is all about.
Luke, I'm going to ask you to put your old defensive coordinator hat on here. When you look at your offense, what makes you guys so effective with those quarterback draws, and why have they been so effective for this offense?
Well, it's spacing. I think the ability to, when you got a guy that can make all the throws, and people have to do a good job with matching things. It just creates some space, right? I mean, when a team is a aggressive rush team, and if they're want to get after the quarterback, then by nature they're going to be up the field a lot of times, and they create some seams and things that you got to try to take advantage of. It's just different philosophies for different teams. There's some teams that their philosophy in rushing the passer is to crush and squeeze the pocket. Well, sometimes it's a little bit more difficult on those guys to have some space to run those draws. And then when you start to really connect and throw the ball better and move the ball around, it creates that those opportunities far greater.
I know it's only Monday, but you obviously lost Hunter in the game. Will Pauling got nicked up a little bit, and Bryson didn't play. Any of those guys do anything yesterday? Do you have any clue at this point about what
they all did stuff yesterday? I don't know if they did stuff on the field or if they practiced much. No, there's a lot of unknowns. There's a lot of unknowns for us, and so we're going to have to move forward. Obviously, it's anybody that has the opportunity to play will play in this game. I mean, it's the rivalry, it's the game, and they all understand that and they all know that. So they are working and working and working to put themselves in a position to not just to play, but to be able to perform. And so there's a lot of those that we don't know right now, and we'll have to figure out as we move forward this week.
Yeah, just talking about Will, obviously
you just said you don't know if you'll have him this week or not, but what's been key for him on third down? I mean, he's been one of the leading receivers in the country on third down. What makes him so special in that position that he's been able to be so successful?
Well, I think it's a savviness, it's a quickness, it's a strength that that he brings, and he's still a young football player, right? I mean, this is really a sophomore year, and I think we've seen a lot of the growth from him throughout the entire season. And he got a lot of catches. There's been some space created, but obviously he has to do that in a lot of ways himself too. And I've really been impressed with his growth. I mean, I think earlier maybe in the year he had some catches and things like that. I think if you asked him, he'd say probably had too many drops, and you've seen that growth throughout the entire season. And last Saturday night, I think, was probably one of his best. I mean, if he touched the ball, he caught the thing. I think he had the one deep one that would have been an amazing catch. But I think there's a confidence level that he has in himself. There's a confidence level that that Tanner has in him, and the offense has in him. And we try to do some things to create some space and give him some freedoms.
Look, I know in the last few weeks, Braun really hasn't taken any practice reps. Do you think this week, after what he did Saturday, he'll be able to get on the practice field a little bit more, or how do you kind of balance that, knowing like you want him for Saturday rather than Tuesday, Wednesday?
No, guys got to practice, and so it's a difficult balance. We'll have to see. I to be honest with you, I went in the game not expecting to see Braylon Allen, and if he was going to have an opportunity to be in there. It was kind of him going to have to be pushing himself and pushing us to get him in there because, of the limited time he had this past week. So he did that, in the first quarter of the game after the first series or two. That's not the way we want to go about, waiting to see if, we have an opportunity in the second series or third series that he'd be able to go. But, there's a lot of those things that we're going to have to figure out as we move forward. Like I said, everybody hurts, right? It's the last week of the season. Everybody hurts. But everybody wants to play in the rivalry game. And so we got to figure out, what gives us the best opportunities to put those guys out there, because it doesn't do us any good to put a guy out there that can't really do it, whether it's protect himself or help us have a chance to win. And, unfortunately, as you get to the end of the season, you got to make some decisions, and sometimes you don't always get to see it on Tuesday and Wednesday.
Getting back to the quarterback draws, you mentioned space, but is a factor also that the quarterback himself has to have a good feel for where to go and to see the openings?
Well, there's a courage factor in that as well, right? I mean, yes, they got to have the ability and things like that, and they got to create space, but there's got to be a courage. Everybody thinks, well, if a guy can run really well, then he must, he's a great quarterback run guy. Like, no, that's not the case, right? It helps, you got to be able to move, you got to have some athleticism, but there's a courage that you have to have as a quarterback in particular to run the football, especially when it's run up inside. And so I think that gives him, gives it, for us in particular, Tanner, some of those opportunities because, early in the year we had to talk to him a lot about let's slide, don't push it, let's take, be smart about what it is we're doing. And now the opportunity that this is a little bit more of who he wants to be and who he, deep down inside really is. But everything else around it has created that as well, right? And I think your ability to throw the ball better, your ability to catch the ball and create space, they all it's that balance that they all work together with.
So, Luke, with just Minnesota's offense as a whole, obviously a little bit more run heavy, but they've had their best back out for a few weeks. But just what stands out with that offense, and possibly even having a mobile quarterback to defend again?
Yeah, no, I think that. I don't think that they would say they're probably exactly where they expected to be, but I do think that offensively they've got weapons. I think that they've maybe been a little bit more run heavy, but the reality is I think some of their the best things that they do are able to move the ball around. I mean, they got a receiver core that I think is dangerous and that can make some plays. So whether they have kind of focused and been a little bit heavier in the run game, especially last week, I think that might have been a little bit of product of the game and what they needed to do to try to be successful. But I think the thing that when I look at Minnesota offensively in particular, I think the balance that they have and the ability, the quarterback's a good athlete, the quarterback can make every throw. They are committed to the run game, but are pretty dynamic in the throwing game. So that balance is what is what. Ask me what leaves you up at night. That's the balance that keeps me up at night.
What's the Charlie Sheen shirt for?
We got you your own.
Oh, that was very nice of you. You want me to show everybody that?
It's your shirt. Oh, you're wearing your shirt. Well, again, full circle. You know?
Look at that. Isn't that nice, everybody?
Yeah.
Season of giving. Thank you so much. You got to iron it a little bit. I like how it says Phil on it, though.
Yeah, it's a nice bowling shirt.
I appreciate that. I will use this. Heather will absolutely hate you when we go to the bowling alley and I am wearing this with my Gopher bowling ball. I actually have a Gopher bowling ball, and I will wear this. And I'll make sure she thanks you as the ball goes down the alley 100 times. So that was very kind of you. I wish people could actually see your shirt so they could actually say one day, so they could see why I said what I said about 2.5 Men with Charlie Sheen, how you looked like him that day with that shirt on. But this one looks way more like it than that. So, all right. So are we almost done? That's good. That took up all the one or two more for me. I'll take one of those by opening comments. Maybe I'll do 2 opening comments and then we'll move on. First and foremost, I just want to start by sending our thoughts and prayers to John Trasmar's family. Passed away a little while ago, and we had Eric Van Rooyen in to speak to our team. He was gracious enough to come in and speak to our team. And you talk about one of them. We've had elite speakers here, and we paid for elite speakers to come in here. Maybe one of the most impactful speeches I've ever heard. That was raw. That was not planned. That was very heartfelt. From Eric to our football team was one of the best I've ever heard, and it was all about John. And I just want to make sure, once a Gopher, always a Gopher, and that M never comes off. And, so I know that, how close Eric and him were. And just to hear the news is kind of around the Thanksgiving holiday season just makes us all really grateful for what we do have and who we have in our life, because it's never expected to have them tomorrow. And it can be over like that in a lot of ways. So, sometimes, and he talked about the lessons he learned from John. And I think sometimes when we're talking about being grateful, we're only grateful for the good things. You need to be grateful for the things that are really hard too, because they teach us so many lessons. It's harder to be grateful for the things that are really difficult in our lives. But that's this season. It's the time of thanks. So I want to at least start out with that to make sure his family knows that we're thinking of them and praying for them. Our whole Gopher family is. And really appreciate Eric coming to share some stuff with our football team. It's Thanksgiving this week. Our players have their annual turkey drive tomorrow. We're excited to do that. Coach Wilson giving out hundreds of turkeys. We're excited about doing that. And that's always really positive for our football players as they're, giving back to our community constantly through the Serving and Giving, Row the Boat program. And just want to thank them for that, but wish everybody else a happy Thanksgiving as well. So I'm sure we got a lot of questions to talk about and shirts to evaluate. So we'll kind of get into that. So,
with this being Thanksgiving week, when and how did gratitude become a theme for you and something big in your life?
I think my entire life I was taught gratitude from a really early age. Being thankful for everything that you have. There's always going to be somebody who has more than you. There's always going to be something that has something bigger than you. There will always be something down to chase, and something has more or better or whatever it is. But being grateful for what you have and using those skills or where you're at, using that experience to make yourself better. Because I could probably point to a million things that I'm grateful for. I talked to Mike Nolan last night, who is my head coach for the 49ers. We talk probably once every few weeks, and I just, during this time of year, I usually call a lot of people to tell them how grateful I am. And I teach our players to do the same thing, writing letters or calling people that you're really thankful for. And, we talked last night just about if you didn't cut me in that one moment, at that exact day, in that exact time, there's no way I would be where I am today. Not even close. And we just kind of talked through that a little bit, talked a little bit about the season. I always talk to him after games and, get his opinion, his take when I kind of vent back to him. So, but I think just as a youngster, I was always taught gratitude, the please and thank yous, the yes sirs, the yes ma'ams. I remember sitting in Ponderosa, and this is a very vivid memory when I was probably 6 or 7 years old, and I don't remember anything. Ask Heather. I really don't remember anything. And somebody came to our table, put down my drink, and I didn't say anything. And my dad, who, always sat next to me, I had an elbow into the tricep immediately. And it was, oh, thank you. And she had already walked away, and then he made me go find her to tell her thank you for bringing my drink. He was always on top of that. So there's so many experiences you have in your life. I mean, I can go on and on about a lot of things that you're grateful for are the hardest things you've been through in your life because they teach you the biggest lessons. Some of the most tragic, some of the hardest things you get through, you do as you get older, mature, and find the gratitude in that and find out what it teaches you. And I think, like I said, some of us only want to be grateful for the good things. You got to be grateful for the hard things that you're going through somehow, some way, because there's so many teaching lessons coming from it, just like our season. I mean, it's a tough season. It's hard. But there's so many opportunities to learn, and these guys are. And we're taking every moment we can to teach them for the rest of their lives or into, this week, into bowl season possibly, or even into, next year. So, I mean, they constantly want to learn, and there's a lot of learning around you.
As you go through a hard year, what do you draw on from previous years, maybe 2020? Obviously, that was an anomaly with COVID, but is there anything that you draw on?
Well, that was still a hard year.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's like, I know that's an anomaly and maybe difficult for different reasons. What do you draw on this year as you go forward?
Well, I think that, anytime you've been through hard things in your life or you've been through hard times in a season or you've had similar seasons, you reflect back on the reasons why. Not excuses, but that's part of experience, right? So I've been a head coach that's gone 1-11. I've had a 1-11 football team. In high school, I was part of back-to-back 14-0 state championship football teams. I was part of really, really bad teams as a kid. I've been part of, as a player, we walked into a 26-game losing streak at Northern Illinois, and we rebuilt that. And there were some really hard years in between that. The last year we beat Alabama. We beat Maryland. I mean, these were crazy teams that Northern Illinois was beating in 1 year. But a few years ago, we were awful. You reflect on all that. Year one here was 5-7, really hard year. But if we didn't have that year, it wasn't going to set up the 11-2 season. 18 was a hard year, but that set up 19. Yeah, and then 20 was a hard year, which set up 21-22. And this is a hard year. The line of success, I said that from day one. You know how I define it. You know what it looks like. I mean, it is a jagged line. It looks like the stock market. And some programs, their jagged line is all the way at the top, and it's just a little squiggly look like. But they're not deep valleys, and they're always high peaks, but they're dips. Look around the country. I mean, there's teams that have gone to a national championship, and this year they might not go to a bowl, or they're close to going to a bowl. Winning's hard. It's really hard. And but we've had some really close wins. We've had some really close losses. We've had some really just unbelievable wins and had some heartbreaking losses. But all of that is teaching these guys lessons, teaching our coaches lessons, finding ways to be able to do it better and grow and learn from the lessons of why. Every Sunday we come in, it's all about why. And again, that's what every coach in the country does. Today, the Vikings are doing the same thing. The Bears, the Packers. Why did we win? Why didn't we win? And they're all evaluating the same thing, right? Why? And then you just do everything you can to make that better throughout the week, and then you go play another game. But you draw on your past experiences. And the one thing that I think I'm very grateful for is had a lot of experiences that we've had some hard years, a lot of hard years, but we've had some historic years. So you reflect on those hard years and you know why you have those. And I think you're trained in how to fix those and how to make them better into the future. And that's what we're doing.
How would you evaluate eighth in season from Nebraska now going into the final regular season game?
I think he's better in a lot of areas. I think he's got to continue to get better in a lot of areas. I think there's some areas that he's, been maintained where it's got to make a huge jump. But I wouldn't sit there and say, okay, well, he's gotten worse in this. I think everything has gotten maintained or better. Now, the level of that, can be argued. But that's our job, is to be able to make that better on a daily basis. And his commitment level, his maturity, his preparation, his leadership has all gotten better. And time is some guys get it quicker. Some guys take a little bit longer. Whatever it is, time is your friend and your enemy at the same time, especially when you're talking in season. But I've seen tremendous growth from him. Seen tremendous growth from our football team. We played some really, really good football teams. When you play against some of the really, 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 really good football teams, top 1, top 2 teams in the country, it exposes what you're not good at very quickly, both from a skill set standpoint to a fundamental standpoint, to an athletic standpoint, and then to an execution standpoint. And I think what you're seeing from our standpoint is an execution standpoint, that we're not executing at a high level enough.
Things you hope your seniors take away from their experience in the program?
Well, I think that I hope they take away that everything affects everything and your whole life matters. Academically, athletically, socially, spiritually, serving and giving, making your life about something bigger than you. Family, forget about me, I love you, doesn't mean you're not important. It just means you're going to be part of something bigger than you. You have to be at your best to make everybody else be at their best, but doing things for other people. I mean, we always talk about this. We're not going to remember scores or wins or losses. We'll know that we won or lost, but the scores you probably are not going to remember. You're going to remember the relationships you made, and life's about people. And it's not about what you do, it's about how you do it. And I think that's more relevant right now in today's society, in athletics, and the world more than ever. So there's a lot of lessons they take from our program, but hope they keep rowing the boat. Hope they never give up on themselves or other people, and just keep that oar in that water and take all those life lessons that our program teaches. That's still a collegiate student-athlete cultural experience, and will be, and apply that to life.
Different is Wisconsin to prepare for under this new coaching staff?
First of all, one of the greatest rivalries in all college football, most historic rivalry in the Big Ten. We're excited to play in it. Got a lot of respect for Luke Fickell. I got to work with Luke in year one when I was a GA, and he's had a ton of success, as a position coach, coordinator, head coach, and, he's a great leader. So, but when you look at, they're just a different team than they've been. I think every team differs when they change head coaches. They present a lot of challenges. The quarterback's really good. He presents an element that is unpredictable. And, when you have a quarterback that can do that, it can create on the run, create with his legs, create with his arm, a play's never dead, ever. So you can have this great play call and it doesn't work, and the next play worked twice as good as the play that was called because he's such a great athlete. Defensively, they're very different than they used to be. A lot of people are doing a little bit. They can be 3 down, they can be 4 down. They mix up coverages. They put a lot of pressure on you to execute at a really high level and be fundamentally sound, especially with the different things they can get in and out of. They've got a lot of players who played a ton of football. But the style is just you prepare for the style. It doesn't matter who the opponent is. You prepare for the style that is that week, and you go. Them being different than what they've been, they're still Wisconsin. They're a very good football team. A lot of players back from last year. So,
are they scheme-wise, PJ, much different than when he was at Cincinnati?
I think that what they're doing is taking the personnel that they have right at Wisconsin. They've taken their system, plugged it in. From what I've seen, now I'm not saying that's what they've done. It's just from an outside view, from a helicopter view, is if you take maybe year one at Cincinnati, maybe it was different than when they, went to the college football playoff because they had people that fit exactly what they wanted to do. When you take over a job, there's the guys that you have who are very good players at Wisconsin, and then you plug them in according to what you do and how you do it. Sometimes you do a little bit more of something else because of the personnel you have, and a little less of something else because you have the personnel you have, until you're able to get everybody in that fits the scheme that you're wanting to run. You can see a lot of similarities between Cincinnati, and Wisconsin in terms of their scheme. Maybe not exactly the same, but similarities. But they definitely have different personnel, guys that are able to do things at different places differently. And I think when you watch it on film, you can see that they're fitting that all together. It's not like they're just taking the square peg, jamming it in the round hole, and just saying, make it work. They're working to make it fit the personnel that they have, and that's what great coaches do.
Excited about the opportunities ahead of this team. Obviously, Saturday was an incredible opportunity for our guys to, send the old Ryan Field off the right way, and the opportunity to secure, become bowl eligible is something that, I know all of us within the program are really proud of. That being said, it's very clear from our leadership, from our team, from myself, from our coaching staff that, we still have a lot of work to do and a lot of exciting opportunities ahead of us. Starting with an opportunity to get on the road in a rivalry game in a rivalry game that we've fallen short in the last couple opportunities, and a team that when we reflect on our performance on Saturday, we know that that there's a lot of things that we got to clean up, and didn't play our best football on Saturday, and that's what an incredible opportunity to come away with a win, to know that there's still a lot of things that we need to improve upon, and having the opportunity to be back to work and evaluate the film this morning and back at practice this afternoon is something that this group is really excited for. So with that said, we're rolling, we're excited, and know that we got quite a challenge on our hands with a really good Illinois team that's fighting for their own bowl eligibility and in a big time rivalry game.
Coach, now that you're the permanent head coach, in the long term, it's your staff to add or make changes to. Do you plan to assess your staff after Illinois or after the bowl game? And are there any areas you're specifically looking to address?
The specific areas we're looking at right now are positions that are currently open, Matt. Within the transition, there were some support staff positions that either weren't filled or just due to the uncertainty of the entire program at the time, some people that took other opportunities. Those are things that we're taking a look at right now to make sure that we can continue to push the program forward. In terms of other decisions, we got too much at stake with this group, and we're just really focused on making sure that we're putting ourselves in a situation to be at our best for Illinois.
So do you anticipate making those decisions after Illinois or after a bowl game?
Those conversations and that thought process will start after Illinois, but also being very conscious of making sure that we're doing a great job of staying present and being at our best for whatever bowl opportunity awaits us.
Coach, on that same kind of vein, now as the permanent head coach, how has your conversations changed with recruits? We saw a lot of them on the sidelines on Saturday about this is now your program and your message and your vision for the future here at Northwestern.
It changes from a standpoint of you get less questions, right? And that's great. There's a certain level of certainty in terms of the fact that you make a decision to come to Northwestern. I can look a young man and his family in the eye and say, hey, I'm going to be here for that. But in terms of the messaging and what we have to offer here at Northwestern, so much of that stays the same. We had a young man verbally commit to us this weekend, which was really exciting, and a lot of things that I was talking about with recruits even prior to the opportunity to become the permanent head coach. I mean, a lot of the messaging is still the same, and I think that speaks volumes to what this place stands for, the values within the university and the football program. There's a lot of young men out there that understand what an incredible opportunity is to play football in the Big Ten and to get a Northwestern degree.
Just to follow up on that, you've only had 10 commitments so far in this class. How many more do you expect to bring in, and what's the number of target you're kind of looking to hit for the class of 2024, I guess?
Yeah, it's unique with roster management right now, as everyone in the room knows. With still having guys on the roster that have a COVID year, it's unique. But looking at that right now, we probably have room for 2 more commitments in the class as it looks on paper, and just got to continue to bend our knees and stay flexible in terms of how this continues to push forward and some of the decisions that our upperclassmen make in terms of their remaining eligibility. But we're really excited about where we're at with this class. Where it ranks on paper, we don't know, and nor do we care. We're excited about the character, the work ethic, the competitive spirit that these guys possess, and the growth potential and development potential that they have.
You're coming into a rivalry game in a series that has a long history. You're new to it, but what have you heard from your players, your coaches, and what do you expect?
Yeah, it's been a great learning opportunity for me to ask the staff, to ask our leadership council this morning what this rivalry means to them, and the consistent message is, Coach, we want the hat back. It's time to bring the hat back, and just to see and feel and sense the urgency that's within this group right now to ensure that we're at our best today for a Monday practice, to make sure we're taking the steps necessary to be at our best on Saturday. One of the many things that makes college football so special, but rivalry week is something that this group is certainly amped up for.
You ever see the hat?
I mean in pictures, but not in person. And there's just something about rivalry games, and especially when you're playing for a trophy. A time at North Dakota State playing for the Dakota marker. I mean those games are just things that stay with you as a player and as a coach, and you can certainly sense within this group, especially with the upperclassmen, they want to make sure they continue to communicate how important it is to the young guys within this program about how our preparation this week is critical.
Can I ask you what the Dakota marker is?
Yeah, North Dakota State, South Dakota State. It's basically a really, really heavy rock, and you better be prepped up in the weight room to lift that thing over your head. But no, it's again, it just for me, it's been neat these last 24 hours just to ask guys like Tim McGargle, other guys on the staff that have been here and in our current leadership and upperclassmen, what it means to them, and continue to educate myself on what it's all about and what it's going to require for us to be successful.
Coach, on that note, there are some pictures of players way back in Northwestern history holding the hat up above their head, and it looks like it's going to crash down on them, but it's a good picture. Will you be attempting that if the Cats win on Saturday?
Oh my gosh, I'll worry about that if we're fortunate enough to be victorious. But no, those are moments you got to celebrate, and like I said, you better stay prepped up in the weight room and make sure you're ready for that moment.
Coach, I'd like to take you back to the Rutgers game. You got thrown into the fire pretty quickly. I mean, it's a conference game on the road, 100 degrees. I mean, both teams were trying to get their first win in the Big Ten. No warm up here. This is pretty serious stuff. Where were you in your organizational? Where were you and where are you now? I mean, is it been a steady climb up? I know there's been a few bumps along, but from you being Crickets, the new head coach, first game, trying to get your arms around everything, and where are you now in your comfort zone?
Yeah, it's a great question, Ted. I think I've always felt comfortable from a standpoint of, being with our players, stepping into a leadership role, trying to bring people together and pull the best out of this group and lead from a position of just serving the group. That's something that hasn't changed, that's stayed consistent. But from a day-to-day operations and recruiting and organization and just, nutrition for our guys. I mean, all these things that come into play as a head coach. Very fortunate to have an incredible support staff, here that does such an incredible job with that. And where I think I've really grown is just, understanding where I need to delegate responsibility, not try and micromanage. And where that's really embodied is just in our defensive prep on the defensive side of the ball. There's certain ways that I've gone about it over the years as a defensive coordinator. And probably in that week one, I was trying to do it like I had always done it. And quickly realized you can't do that. Not with the other responsibilities that are falling, that are on my plate right now. And it's just a credit to that defensive staff in terms of the way that we've kind of caught a rhythm and delegated responsibility. Guys have taken ownership in those responsibilities, and the efficiency that we're clicking at on that side of the ball, just in terms of our weekly prep and game planning, is a credit to that staff, that group of men. And that's where I feel like I've had my most dramatic growth, is just balancing that along with all the other responsibilities that come along with the role as head coach.
A couple updates. I know I said after the game, but Caden will have surgery tomorrow. Wish him full speed recovery. Should be able to do that. Everything looks good. They're just going to go in and repair the shoulder and probably be limited in spring ball, but should be fully cleared by next season. And then, unfortunately, Kanena Olaga as well had a season-ending injury with his ankle. Probably have surgery on Wednesday of this week, if not early next week. So he'll be out for the season as well. So a number of guys followed that path, but it's part of the game. And other than that, we got out of it relatively healthy. Had a couple guys get banged up, but nobody should miss anything this week. The guys that were a little questionable going into last week, Pat Bryant handled it no problem. Keith played well. Reggie obviously played well. So the guys that were a little bit banged up came through in a big way. Unfortunately came up short in the Iowa game. 7 games that have been decided by a touchdown or less, and we're 5-2 coming out of them. But I'm sure I'm like everybody else. You think a lot more about those 2 losses than the 5 wins were the ones that sit in your head. Obviously, a very good Iowa team. Like I said after the game, gave them a tough game. Just weren't able to close out, and they were. So to win a game like that, you got to play flawless for 4 quarters, and we weren't able to do that. So this week, Northwestern, obviously a trophy game, a rivalry game. When I came here, they'd won 6 in a row. So the first thing we talked about was respecting Northwestern and what they've done, and obviously a transition in the coaching staff, but more of the same from them. There's a very tough physical team. Got playmakers on both sides of the ball. Guys that are very, I think, in tune with what they're doing right now. You see that I think they, similar to us, they've won 3 of their last 5. Obviously, the last 2 with Wisconsin and Purdue, so they're playing their best here at the end of the season. Also, this weekend we'll honor 24 seniors, guys that are going to go through the ceremony, but there are some guys that are going through this year's ceremony that were in last year's ceremony, so it's kind of the wave of today that we're in. I went back to our bye week, had conversations with some guys that could potentially be in that window to move on to the NFL or end up their playing career a little bit shorter than what they're allotted. So a lot of those conversations have already taken place, but a lot more will come next Sunday. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. We can't go out on the road until next Thursday, so we'll have it's actually a nice little window of time where you can get a lot of good conversations in, but we're going to put everything into what we can this week. It's obviously Thanksgiving break for our fall break for our kids, so there's no classes this week, so it does allow us to play with the schedule a little bit. They have today off. We have to abide by that rule, but there's no 20-hour rule this week, so we can get a little bit of extra prep time, and obviously they've got 11 games on us, and we got 11 games on them, so a lot of film to get through. So with that, I'll open up for questions.
Coach, how well do you know David Braun? Is there something about his approach you think that has allowed him to take a tough situation and turn it into something positive?
Well, I met him briefly at Media Day, but obviously when he got hired, we began to do our research and what he'd brought and what he'd done. A very successful coach, and then obviously administration saw him to put him in what I would imagine was a very difficult moment. I thought I was walked out of that media day. I had limited contact with him, but I watched some media over the next 24 hours and just the way he handled and said things. And then this year, as they progressed, I kept an eye on it from afar. Just been very impressed with his ability to engage and say. And obviously this week it's brought that much more awareness. I usually watch press conferences, post-game, pre-game during the week, the last couple of weeks of an opponent that we're playing. So I've been able to watch him quite a bit, and obviously his players, and there's a message that's definitely come through. They believe in improving every day, and that's exactly what they've done.
What would be the significance of making a bowl game for a second straight year for your program?
Well, it's a great point. Obviously, I think when we came here, we talked about being in postseason play every year, and obviously last year being able to achieve it. I wish this year we were at a number where that already happened, but obviously it hasn't. So it's a part of this week, but I think, setting the message last night with our guys to play in a rivalry game, to know what we've done the last 2 years and the streak that they had before that. Every game is what it is. I think this, to have a trophy game is kind of a cool thing. I think that's what's really appealing to the Big Ten. So there's a lot of storylines and sublines, but that's obviously a big one as well.
You mentioned Caden, so to look too far ahead,
yeah,
you may not be fully cleared by spring. Of your running backs who have dealt with season injuries, do you expect any of them back for the spring? So it just seems like more.
Yeah. So actually, Aiden Lawfrey is not out of the realm of possibility this week. To be quite honest, he's going to come back a lot quicker than we thought. So Aiden will definitely be back. Obviously, Reggie, he's got some decisions to make, but Reggie would potentially be with us. Jordan Anderson, because he was injured so early, that was in literally, I think, the first fall camp scrimmage, if I'm not mistaken. So he'll be right on the cusp of it. I don't know if he'll be totally cleared by spring ball, but I'm very excited. And he looks great. He's been bopping around the hallways, and he's been able to work out pretty routinely now. So he's actually leaned up a little bit. Kind of excited to see where he's at. And then Caden, again, it'll be right up there, nip and tuck. But other than that, I'm concerned, but I've never had 4 season-ending injuries in a running back room. It's pretty amazing, but it is what it is.
It's next week when you have these discussions with the players, but you have some guys that 6 years, with the age of NIL, how are those conversations different now?
You know, it's incredibly. Again, it's an unintended consequences, but I know it's a joke, right? Like probably made famous by Rodney Dangerfield, right? Like going to old school guys, but like you know, to go to college for 6 years, right, is a long time. So you got eligibility things that got to stay in track, right? We got guys that are transferring in, so they either come in as grad transfers or regular transfers. So guys that are grad transferring in, you know, they got grad classes, which is a whole other set of issues. You got guys that potentially could jump into the NFL, but you also have guys that maybe they're sitting in a position battle where they maybe want to test the waters. They like where they're at, you know. To this day, I don't think I've ever had a player leave this program that didn't end in a hug in my office that I'm aware of. And I think that's probably why we've done so good in that non-transfer world. I think we were one of the best in the country a year ago. We do a really good job of developing our players. Josh and his administration takes incredibly good care of our guys, and but sometimes kids just want to see what else is out there, and that's the challenging part more than anything.
About guys that could come back and not enter the NFL too, like that's,
right?
What's that conversation like?
Yeah, Tip Ryman, Isaiah Williams. I think Johnny and Keith would be fair to say that probably I had to talk them out of it last year. So really, I try to say this, and I say talk them out of it, but one of the things that's worked well for us is just presenting the facts, right, and letting them come to decisions. I think that's a really unique part of the world we're in, the NIL world, right, and what these guys can potentially gather and make. You know, as opposed to jumping into a late round early or a free agent. The one thing I always preach to our guys is listen, like just because you're drafted or you get a free, you don't make the team, right? You gotta. There are more practice squad players than ever before, but those guys literally transition, you know, very well. Like I just kind of go back to my first year, a guy like Owen Carney, right? Like who played incredibly good for us that senior year and probably played as good a football he has. He's just been kind of bouncing around in and off practice squads and rosters and XFL stuff. And I think when you get to that point where you jump, you need to be as best prepared physically and mentally to make that commitment and jump as possible. You know, Tony Adams was a highly sought after free agent. Now he's a starter, and I know he broke his hand last night, but like we've had probably a higher batting percentage of guys that have gone as free agents and made it in the league than any time in my career. Like Jake Hansen, Tony Adams, I know him as Palcho, Tommy DeVito. I hit Tommy up when our whole story began to unfold, and I got some great, colorful text messages from his father. And I didn't see anything. You know, I get so wrapped up in my day, and then somebody had told me going into the team meeting last night that Tommy had won and thrown three touchdowns. So I shot him and his dad a message, and his dad said, "Coach, I'm literally floating back to New Jersey from Washington. I'm on cloud nine." So it's fun to see those kids have that success.
You said you guys would go with John this week. I'm just curious, when you elected to go with him for the Iowa game, was it thought for the final two, or did you come to the decision after or during the Iowa game?
I'm going to say I think you guys know this, like I josh with the employees like a little bit here and there when I need to, but it's really a game-by-game approach. You know, I just think that when I brought in John and Luke, you know, one of the things that, you know, people lose sight of is, you know, obviously there's a lot of concentration on the starter, but then you got a guy that's a backup that used to be a starter, and there's a lot of emotions that go into that, right? And I saw Luke's mom and dad in the hotel on Friday, and I just walked up to him and said he'd just been very impressed with how he handled everything all week, and I think they and him both appreciate how he handled it. I thought his practice last week was awesome, and you know, to be honest, going into that post-game locker room, we did a lot of really good things on Saturday, but didn't do enough good things to win. But John played against a very good defense, probably one of the best ones we played this year, and was able to do some things effectively. But there's some things that weren't good, right, that we got to correct on.
You mentioned after the Indiana game that you didn't anticipate playing Reggie Love as many snaps as you did, but I mean, it's 2 games in a row now.
Yeah.
After he had missed so much time with an ankle injury, what have you seen from him as he's kind of had to shoulder that load?
Yeah, Reggie's been super impressive since I've got here. Just he kind of is a guy that always ready to do his job. Like one of our big things is do your job, right? And Reggie's always just prepared. He's literally. I remember when we went to Maryland, we were getting down with a 70-man travel roster, and there was a chance he could play, not play. And then once it looked like he wasn't going to play, several of my support staff said, "Coach, I don't know if you're aware of this, but like literally every kid comes up and hits Reggie before the game, right? The couple games that he missed, and have an engagement with him before the game, right? So they they witness how much Reggie means to those guys and the teammates, right? And I was going to take him if we had a spot, and he said, Coach, I'd rather just stay here and rehab, to be quite honest. And I thought that was a big moment because the next week he was ready, right? And Reggie's just got an awareness. He's got a super energy feel to him that I think our kids feed off. He's very, very positive. He's a very unique player. I think he's not real flashy, but he always gets the job done.
Certain games have
really, you don't ever want to end the season on a loss. So I just think some positivity going into the off season. One more time to play in front of Ross 8 and take care of the home field, and to win an in-state rival, and it's a trophy game. To keep a trophy would definitely be positive moving into the off season.
You talked a little bit in the post game Saturday about lamenting allowing a touchdown on the team, Minnesota's first drive, Northwestern's first drive. Just talk about that and maybe, again, sort of address maybe what you think you can do to tighten that up and prevent that from happening.
Yeah, obviously like the Minnesota week, what it was like 4 plays, touchdown, and then same thing, this past weekend. And we tried different things. Like we had a start fast period in the week. We were going to take the ball regardless if we'd won the toss. So it worked out how we wanted it to with them deferring to see if that helped, and it didn't. We had two MEs that led to explosive plays and ultimately a touchdown. Where we didn't see the tackle over and get the front knocked, so we had to open A gap for the touchdown. We'll continue to find different ways to start fast defensively. I do think obviously they settled into it and played really well for a long stretch, and then just had some mishaps toward the end, and that's really been the theme defensively the last couple games, where you play good for long stretches and it's like 3 plays. But the thing is on defense is if you have 3 bad plays, that's 21 points, right? Where offensively you got 3 bad plays, you're punting. So we got to understand that as a defense, just the intensity and the focus it takes to play as sound as we can play for 4 quarters.
Did you realize Purdue is number 1 in the Big Ten in 4th down attempts with 27? You just kind of talk about that, and does that surprise you at all?
Well, I think it's partly because we've been a lot of 4th and short situations. I think a lot of times some of those teams on 3rd and 2 or 3rd and 1 are getting first downs, right? And so, you kind of take every game for what it is. Felt like this past week I made the same type of decisions we made against Minnesota, and they ended up in touchdowns. And this week we didn't get in there, and so was also knew that defensively we'd be able to stop them and get the ball back. And with where we were offensively, with how thin we were up front and 2 new quarterbacks in there, just didn't know how often we'd be able to get down there to put points on the board. And I was still going back and looking at it. I thought those were the right moves to make.
Just now that you've had a chance to digest the film, just what you thought of the quarterbacks, Bennett Meredith and Ryan Braun, and how you used them. In hindsight, would you want to use them any different? Would you want to maybe go with Ryan longer, or what? Just talk about that QB situation.
Yeah, I thought Ryan played a little more confident, and he adds a little different element with his ability to run and extend plays. So we knew going into the game that we'd have to be able to run the football in order to put points on the board and give us a chance to win, right? And so I think that also catered to Ryan's strengths. You look at what we were available from a roster standpoint up front. I was proud of the way those guys are battling. You got your backup center playing right tackle, your 3rd string center playing left guard. Musa came back, and he was supposed to be an emergency-only tackle situation, but Ben Farrell goes through warm-ups, and he can't go. And for those guys to go back-to-back weeks with 300 yards rushing, like we knew that was going to be the way we had to play in order to have a chance to win it. We just didn't play clean enough or disciplined enough for 4 quarters. Still had a chance to win it there at the end, but when your margin of error is that small, you can't turn the ball over 4 times. You can't have mental errors on defense that lead to touchdowns. You got to play cleaner, and that was to me why we didn't win the game, is we didn't do enough from a discipline standpoint. I thought they fought their tails off and played tough and physical, but didn't play clean enough to win that game.
Ron, you talked about this a couple weeks ago, but when teams are having the kind of season that you're having, sometimes the fan base drifts off, and you've had some great crowds this year despite that. How much does that give you a boost going into the last game, knowing, hey, it's still going to be an electric atmosphere, the fans are still, on board with this thing?
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I love this place, right? You got a passionate and emotional fan base that also has like a awareness of sort of what's going on. You know what I mean? And I get, like, people are frustrated and disappointed, as are we, right? We're frustrated, disappointed, and I was talking to my parents the other day, and I'm like, I'm like the biggest LeBron fan, and I can't tell you how many times I've cussed him out on TV, right? Like, just as a fan, like, you get frustrated. I feel like, this fan base is sort of that way, where, they see what's happening on the field. We're in tight ball games. We have hit the injury bug like nobody's business. And you're dealing with brand new schemes, offense, defense, special teams. Still no excuses, right? Like, there are plenty of games out there where I feel like, we should have won, and that falls on my shoulders. But I do think that we are continuing to improve as a program, and the way we're running things. I promise you we're going to win a lot of games. I promise you that this our coaching staff was going to hit the recruiting trail tough and precise, and we're getting we're starting to get the support we need from a resource standpoint, and so it'll look right next year, I promise you. And I'm looking forward to this weekend, being a microcosm of what's to come in the future.
Kind of going off that, the guys you do have, it's tough, especially for seniors, when a new staff comes in and most of those guys didn't commit to you. They committed to a different scheme, a different coach. Last game in Ross Aid for some of these guys, how big have they been in hopefully turning this thing into the future?
Oh, they've been awesome. They've completely bought in, embraced the staff and the changes with open arms. Obviously, it ain't all sunshine and rainbows, right? Every individual has their personal opinions, and but the guys that stuck with it and stayed and have really put their head down and went to work, like they have been rewarded with opportunities on the field, and so they have helped us lay the foundation for the way we need to operate moving forward, and they've been good examples for the young guys that we have in our program.
I want to talk about one of those guys, Cam Allen, who I'm sure fans sometimes are frustrated, but also this is a guy that's got, I think, 13 career interceptions, and that doesn't happen by accident. He played a lot early. Obviously, he seems to be a guy that's always around the football. Even a lot of tip balls seem to just miss him. What has he meant, just as a leader and just as a guy that can get you a big turnover in a key moment?
Yeah, what I've been, Cam, his role from a year ago to now has changed just with the style of play. And, by nature, the ball can find him, you know what I mean? And we just, with the personnel the last couple of weeks, that's why his role has been a little bit diminished, because we've seen more 12 personnel than we have 11 here lately. But he has improved as the year's gone on. I feel like he's trusted the technique, and as a result, his play is improved. And, his effort is improved as well. So I think he sees, the importance of buying in 100%, you know what I mean, in order to have success, and that's why I think he's been playing better lately.
Do you think this team has
Yeah, I just want to begin by congratulating our soccer team. Big win last night and on to the Sweet 16. So great job, and wish them nothing but great things moving forward. I also want to recognize our players of the week that do a great job working hard for us. So defensive scout, Connor Holt, offensive scout, Will Larkins and Declan McMahon, and special team scout, Lincoln Murph. So really, really excited about this week. Great opportunity.
for our program with the old Oaken bucket. So much tradition, so much has been put into this game for so many years, and so much pride in the outcome. So representing our whole university and fan base and state of Indiana here as we battle for a very prestigious prize. So big opportunity heading to West Lafayette to take on the Boilermakers. Questions?
Matt and Jeff.
Hey, Coach, how you doing?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
I'm okay. On that touchdown that Michigan State got right before the end of the first half, it looked like obviously Philip Dunham did not play the ball or make the play that you were looking for. He didn't play the rest of the game. I guess what was your message to him, and what kind of response have you seen from Philip in the days since that game?
Yeah, he chose to try to strip the football, which is something we do when you're the second or third defender at the point of attack. So obviously, I think it happened about the 15-yard line. So should have had him on the ground, and then, you battle to force him to kick a field goal. So pretty big mistake there. Really kind of it's not what we teach and coach, and inexcusable. So felt like that, Josh Sanguinetti's played well, and so played him the rest of the way, and definitely was very open and honest with Phil about that. And he needs to respond. We'll see how that goes this week. But bottom line is that, you got to do things the right way. And if you don't, then somebody's going to be there and take your job.
Jeff Nixon.
Hey, Tom, when you have a roster that has a lot of transfers like this year, guys that weren't here last season, what do you try to do this week leading into the Purdue game to try to teach them kind of the importance of this rivalry and maybe the history behind it?
Yeah, that's a great point. We started yesterday for that very reason with the 51-54 based on we've added a few additional walk-ons here in the last, couple months after the season started to add more guys that weren't here a year ago. But, so with all the new faces, Coach Deal, Mark Deal does a phenomenal job. His one word every single year is bucket. It's been that way ever since I've been here. So he is the most passionate person that I know regarding this. This game, the trophy that we play for. There's been 8 victories by the Deal family, most ever in the history of Indiana University football, that have been a part of winning the bucket between his dad and his brother and himself. So he does a great job. So we started yesterday. He gives the whole history of it, all the way back to the beginning, where it came from, the farm it came from, got pictures of that, just all the different parts of it, and just kind of giving our guys an education of that. And then he obviously puts his own flavor on it, which is very, very emotional and passionate. And then every single day this week, we're going to have a alumni video speaker that's going to challenge our guys about the bucket, and then with the video as well. So just constant every single day, just to continue to educate our guys and make them understand how big this game is.
Mason and Seth.
Coach, kind of looking back at some of the games here down the stretch, it seems like going into the half or at the end of a half, really the defense is kind of struggling and giving up a long drive that's really kind of swung the momentum going into half, or even at the end of the game, Michigan State scored that touchdown. I guess what needs to be better about the defense and finishing out a half, especially when it comes to kind of carrying that momentum forward?
Yeah, I mean, that's just absolutely what we emphasized yesterday. Obviously, it's been pretty apparent, in those last 2 games, without question, before the half and how you finished the game and had a chance to finish out the game with a win by just getting a stop, by our defense here at this one. So the emphasis has been, going back and evaluating the calls that we made in those situations, the execution of those calls. So first of all, it's making sure we're in the right call. And there's obviously things you go through. It's like, hey, maybe we should have done this, should have done that, called this, called that. And then we got to make sure that in those, whatever we do call, is that there's 100% execution of that call, no matter what they do, whether it's something we haven't seen before, something we did have seen in the past. The concept that they ran on that last one was something they had done previously in the game. And so just still, but it's always a little things too leading up to it. You have a chance to, have a chance to get a sack, on that third down that led up to the 4th and 3 conversion, which would have made it 4th and 10, which is a totally different call. So it's a series of plays, series of efforts. We missed some tackles in that last drive. And, it's making sure we're getting our best players on the field and making sure the calls that we make, our guys execute at a very, very high level. So obviously we've not done that. And really, it's been unbelievably frustrating and disappointing. But at the same time, we got one more opportunity this year. We got to make sure it doesn't happen this week.
Seth and Daniel.
Obviously, personnel-wise, Purdue is different than past years, but also obviously they changed over coaching staffs from, the schools, the teams that you've played in the past several years. What have you been able to see at Purdue so far? Just what differences do you see from the way this team operates versus Purdue in past years?
Well, different offensive system, different defensive system, so schematically quite a bit different. Obviously they've always thrown the ball well. They run the ball really well lately. Last 2 games in a row, they've been over 300 yards rushing, which is very impressive. They got 2 talented running backs and their O-line's being very effective in what they're doing. They have made adjustments throughout the season. They got a very talented quarterback, which has been consistent. Since I've been here, they've always had a good quarterback. And so Hudson Card's a very, very talented player. And he can beat you with his legs, beat you with his arm. He's an elite football player, in my opinion. And then defensively, the scheme, obviously, Coach Walters being a defensive guy and bringing that system that he ran at Illinois so well there. And they do a really good job in a lot of those areas. So definitely a lot of changes in personnel as well. And new team, but same bucket, and that's really what this is all about is getting back to bucket.
Daniel and Pete.
Yeah, Coach, I know you're kind of more of a naturally optimistic individual, but with the challenges of the last 3 years, kind of how do you remain positive and optimistic about the future of the program, I guess?
Yeah, to me, you have, continue to have some tough, close losses like we've had these last few weeks and some tough last couple of seasons have not been what anybody wants here. And so, yeah, you just keep building, you don't, the very things you build this upon, you lean on that, the foundation of who you are and what you do. And you choose to find ways to keep making adjustments and finding a way to stay the course and continue to move forward and build. And that's where, it's been frustrating because we haven't seen the growth and the fruit of some of those things, but there's also a principle of that you don't grow weary in doing things the right way. And if you just stay the course, you'll reap a harvest if you don't give up. And so we're going to continue to make adjustments, continue to adapt to the new, the new landscape of college football is dramatically different. Matter of fact, so I was there, pregame, and Coach D'Antoni was out there with their staff now, with their situation there at Michigan State. And first word out of his mouth was, "Man, has this thing changed in the last 3 years since the last time he coached?" And I said, we both agreed it's a dramatic difference. And so you have to build things differently. You have to adapt to those changes, and we have to adapt as a program and as a university for these changes. And so you got to continue to work towards that. To that end. And to me, I said this before, I'll keep saying it. I'm not positive because life's easy and everything works out for you. I remain positive because life's hard and sometimes life's not fair. And we experienced that on Saturday. And you got to find a way to just stay the course. You have a great foundation that you believe in, you build off of, and you don't waver from that, but you just battle and you fight and you just claw and fight and scratch to continue to build what you want to build. And so we got to keep getting better, and we got a great opportunity this week to be able to get some momentum for the offseason.
Pete and Ken.
Hey Tom, when you look at the schedule this week with Thanksgiving and everything, how do you manage that? How do you handle with Thanksgiving dinner and stuff like that? How do you approach that? Yeah, so we've done different ways here, and our guys, kind of lean on them to what they really enjoy the most and feel the best is for them. And so we found that we like to be able to, instead of having a huge Thanksgiving meal together as a team, we've done that in the past. The guys would rather have a chance to go and be in someone's home, either a coach's home. Some players that live close enough, they're going to go home and take teammates with them. And we have a process we go through that we make sure that every single one of our players has a home to go to for having a Thanksgiving meal, whether it's my house or a coach's house or one of their teammates' houses or their own house. If they live close enough to drive there. So we let them, give our guys a little extra hour of sleep each day on Tuesday and Wednesday, start a little bit later each one of those days, be a normal schedule on a Thursday, and then have a practice on Thursday morning and let them go home and be with their families and wherever they're going to be for Thanksgiving meal that afternoon and evening, and then come back on Friday morning. We'll have our walkthrough, and then we'll get on the bus and head to West Lafayette. So Thursday's the one day that's different. And like you said, our philosophy is I want them to be in somebody's home having a Thanksgiving meal with either their own family or the family of a coach or a friend, teammate.
And then Matt.
Coach, you've had some very difficult losses over the past couple of weeks, and obviously they've been incredibly hard to swallow for the coaching staff and the players. What have you seen from the players in terms of their attitude when they're bouncing back from these losses, and how do you keep them battling despite not being rewarded with a win in a lot of those close games.
Yeah, that's the challenge. That's what's really, really hard about this, And so, what I did this weekend was talk a little bit about the game, and some things that we, feel like we needed to do better to give ourselves the chance to win, and then moved right on to Purdue and the bucket. And so, really became what's next is kind of that. And that's kind of been the focus all along is we try to correct things, but we get ready for the next one. And then to try to teach them about that's how life has to be as well. Something really, really tough happens, maybe something that you cause, sometimes things that you don't cause, and sometimes unfair things happen. Well, the response to that is really the key. So we're just training them for that and talk them through the mindset that it takes to do that and how you approach that. How do you go about that? And it can be harder as every more difficult thing you experience keeps coming your way to stay true to what you believe in. But at the same time, even though it gets tested and gets tried, we call this, the fires and the trials of life. Sometimes those have a way of strengthening us if you respond the correct way. And they build a resiliency and a toughness and a grit and a fight that only difficulties can build. And so we just never stop talking about that. But it is about what's next and focus on what's in front of us and not what's behind us and not dwelling on the past, learning from it and pressing on. That to me, that's the approach. And that's what we're going to do again this week.
Happy Thanksgiving week to everybody. Just a couple things. First of all, I want to congratulate all the teams playing for state championships here. Wish I could be a part of it. Wish I could go out and watch and celebrate their excellence, but I want to make sure that we congratulate them. I want to congratulate Coach Walker and the women's soccer team making the Elite Eight. That's a really big deal in our house, and we're very excited for them. I want to congratulate Coach Cook and the women of Nebraska volleyball for being Big Ten champs, and I look forward to them making their run. So it's great to be here, great to be a part of so many excellent teams and be a part of such a great athletic department. When it comes to this Friday, I just, before, I know you guys will have lots of questions, I just want to express my deep gratitude for the 24, probably about 24 guys that they're going to walk out on Friday and as seniors. So a couple guys are still, because of COVID, some guys are still making some decisions up, but you can't do this job without buy-in from players. And these players, well, I think they've bought into us. More importantly, I think they care deeply about Nebraska football. And when I see Ethan Piper, when I see Nick Henrich limp off the field the other night, they've given us everything. They've absolutely given us everything. And I'm just very, very, very grateful. I'm also grateful for all the student workers. I asked if they could be honored in similar ways. We have equipment managers that ride 6, 7, 8 hours on buses. Student recruiting workers, student operations workers, student nutrition workers, other areas. So I'm just really grateful for all those young people and all the things that they do to allow us to have a chance to play the game. So with that, I'll just see what questions you guys have.
Coach, what's your approach on the short week? How do you kind of approach this week, maybe with the time of year you're at right now compared to, say, other short weeks you've had to tackle this year?
Yeah, it'll be just like Illinois. Obviously Illinois coming off of Michigan. We went out and practiced that Sunday. We didn't practice last night. We met, we watched the tape. We got back late. I wanted the guys to go home and sleep. But we met, we went over the game tape from Saturday night. Got started with the guys on their Iowa prep. They'll be in tonight. They'll practice tomorrow. We'll practice tomorrow morning. There's no school Wednesday, so we'll practice Wednesday morning. I'll cut the guys loose, let them go home if they're local, bring them back Thursday at some point, walk through and have a normal week. So it'll be very similar to what we did against Illinois with the same amount of practices.
You have a listing of 11 guys on the roster who are seniors and the 24 who are juniors. You said there's going to be 24 who might walk overall. How do you help them make those decisions? And do you kind of know those juniors who you think are going to go ahead and say this is the end of the year?
Yeah, they've all said, they've already, they've already said to Susan and Kiera, hey, I'm walking, I'm not walking. I've had several come into me, say, Coach, what do you think I should do? In terms of mainly those ones are the ones who have a chance at the NFL, and but to each one it's their own personal decision. Some guys, they might walk this week, but they still haven't made their mind up. They want to kind of get to the end. So it's really important for me that we just kind of allow each one to do what they want. But we have we have some guys that might say they're a junior, but they're really in their 5th year. It's a unique time. I mean, sometimes I don't know. I said to Fedoni, I called him a sophomore, and he goes, well, technically I'm a freshman. So technically he is. So, but it's just with each one, I'm available to these guys. And that's really been our message all the time. We're never going to give them advice that's not in their best interest. And we're really never going to give them advice other than just to give them facts and information. One of the hard things about making the pro decision, and I ran into this last year with Garrett Nelson, is you can't get a pre-draft grade for a COVID year. So if I'm a 3rd-year player and I'm going into my 4th year, I can apply to the NFL and they'll give me a draft grade. If I'm a 4th-year player trying to decide if I want to come back for a 5th year and that's a COVID year, they won't do it for that. So, I mean, luckily for us, we obviously have a lot of connections. We'll ask guys where they see guys. We'll try to give them an idea, and then guys can make their own decisions. I'll just say, yesterday I started the day off with, you come back, you lose a game like we lost in overtime. It's the 3rd time that on the last play of the game was decided. You're hurt for your guys. And then, I had guys walking in saying, Coach, I want to come back next year and play again. And I had recruits calling me saying, Coach, I want to come there. So it was really a great day from that regard. But it's each guy's kind of making their own mind up. And I would probably produce that list right now, but I know some guys, they might change their mind over the course of this week. So I want to be respectful of that for them.
Like Quentin and Ty, they can get grades because they're 5th-year juniors or whatever.
Well, no, Quentin's done, so he just goes into the process. Ty wouldn't be able to get a grade as far as I know because he's not a junior. He's used his eligibility. That's kind of what happened with Garrett last year. And even the grades. I mean, the grades are like 1st, 2nd. I think I can't remember if it's 3rd or go back. But if they give 80 guys a 3rd round grade, there's not 80 guys in the 3rd round, so you have a tendency to slip. So it really depends on how many people actually go into the market, if that makes sense. So,
how much is this bowl game situation? How much of that as a motivator for you and for the players?
Well, I mean, I'm motivated every week. I think it would be great for our program. It'd be great for our young players. It'd be great for our older guys. I know our older guys are motivated. I've never, I think, look at the last 3 weeks. We get knocked down, we get right back up, and they come back each week. And so I don't think there's any question. I don't think there's any question of, that they're motivated to try to get it done and try to get this win. And like I said, when we were at 5-3, I didn't want to just win one more. I wanted to win them all. We're sitting here at 5-6. I want to win. I want to win each week. I truly believe it when I say go 1-0 each week. But I know they want to win. They want. To think that they're sitting here at senior day. A lot of these guys, it's their last game in this stadium. They're playing a ranked team, chance to go to a bowl game. If they lack any motivation, it's all there for them. But I've seen this group do nothing but fight every week all year.
Did Chubba come out of Saturday's game pretty good health-wise? What's the situation with him?
He's healthy. Yeah, he's good.
How do you feel as you kind of look back at it, watched it back again, and how he performed?
I thought Chubba played really well. He came in on Sunday, and he and I sat down, and I think the thing that takes you from good to great is when you go back and look and say, hey, what are the plays I could have done? Not just concentrate on things you did well. There's maybe 4, 5, 6 plays where, first progression is not there. Maybe he scrambles and the backside in cut's wide open, and but a couple more reps, over the course of the season, maybe he gets back to that a little easier. But I thought he was in command the whole game. I thought he protected the ball. I thought he had great energy. I thought he was making a lot of good decisions. I harken back to like the Minnesota week. Like, if you look at our scout team for the Minnesota game, like Chubba was the quarterback, Emmett was the tailback. And those guys the last 2 weeks have taken us down on drives with a chance to win the game. So there's always something, there's always things to get better at. But I thought overall, Chubba, I thought he was a real spark in the game.
Given the fact that he several times in the past few weeks about wanting the quarterbacks to kind of just play and not think too much. In that regard, how did you feel Chubba did as far as like making quick decisions and not allowing things to get too big for him?
I thought he did a really nice job of that. I didn't think he predetermined anything. You know, I thought he came out and, you know, you come out in that game, right? They're a 4-down team. They came out and they were playing basically like what amounts to like a nickel 3-4 to our big people, and he just played the plays, got the ball in the perimeter of Billy when it was there. They went back kind of after the first 2 drives to the 4-down stuff. I thought he played the plays. Like I said, there's maybe 4 or 5 plays. I think for every quarterback, there's always 4 or 5 plays. So, but I thought Chuba just kind of was in the moment. He just kept playing the play. I mean, that's the one thing I said to him, like late in the fourth quarter, was like, hey, just don't try to win the game, play the play, right? I know how badly he wanted to win the game, but the way you win the game is by playing each play as it comes. And there were a lot of really good plays that he made, and that, you know, gave us a chance. You know, on the road, in the crowd noise, in the cold. I thought he looked like he was comfortable.
Given the fact that he played well, what did he have to work through just to get to the point to play? Because the way that he played would indicate that maybe he could have played earlier if he wasn't hurt. So what did he have to go through just to get to the point where he could play?
Well, I think I think when you see someone have success, it usually stems from their ability to overcome some sort of adversity. So, you know, I think he's learned and grown a lot over the course of this year. I'll let them speak. I'll let Chuba and Heinrich and them speak about, you know, the things they've endured in their time to college. I don't want to speak for them, but I think, I think coming into this year, I challenged Chuba a lot in the spring. I challenged him in the fall. As I've said, if you go back to my statements, I thought he was having a great camp, and he got banged, he got hurt. He's gotten healthier and healthier and healthier. You certainly see the speed that he has. And he's got moxie and toughness. So I told him before the game, not after the game, I told him before the game, you're going to play well. And people are going to say, why didn't you play earlier? And, you know, I showed these guys a lot of different videos. I showed them Kobe Bryant. I showed them, you know, over the last couple weeks, it's been Kobe Bryant, like going through adversity to become a great player. I think Chuba has endured, you know, some of the physical adversity and then not playing and gotten just better and better and better. He's played on the scout team. He's taken the reps when we've given them to him. And so when he went out there, I thought he played free and just kind of played the play. So I don't know if I'm answering your question, but I kind of told him that ahead of time because I knew he was going to play well. And I could see that when he went out there last week, and I could see that in practice this past week.
All right, guys, thanks for coming out. Thanksgiving week, it's kind of appropriate. I'm really thankful for the seniors that'll be playing their last game at SHI Stadium. These are the seniors that really have laid the foundation of our program here this second go-round. You know, guys like Mayan Ahanatu, who came here as a transfer and really didn't know where he was in his career and became really the leader of our team. You know, the elder statesman, the guy who's a mature guy, Deion Jennings, right, who had an up and down career with injuries, but now the last 2 years has been just a phenomenal player for us. You know, you go down the list, Reggie Sutton, a guy that no one thought would or should or could ever play again, and look what he's done. So, you know, you go down Isaiah Washington, right? Isaiah had plenty of chances where he could have said, this new coach, what am I doing? Kid from Jacksonville, Florida. Instead, he stuck it out, and what a great example for young players that struggle a little bit to see what he's been able to do. And, you know, there's so many guys. You know, Johnny Langan, right, has just done about everything. One of the officials said to me when Johnny went down Saturday, he said, man, is he okay? And I said, I don't know. He said, man, he feels like he's been playing here forever. And, you know, those are the kind of guys that 20 years from now when they come back and Rutgers is winning Big Ten championships and playing in college football playoffs and winning national championships, they're going to know they're the ones who laid the foundation for this program. So I'm very thankful for them, and I'm sure I missed people. But, you know, Kes Abraham, a guy that, if you guys remember, was the Defensive Player of the Year in 2021, and then some injuries have sidetracked him. But my goodness, his attitude is incredible still to this day, is the energizer on our team. So again, I'll forget people, and I hate to single out, but I just sit here and I am grateful and thankful for the guys. And now we got a great challenge. The challenge is we got to send those guys out with a win, their last game in their home stadium against a very good Maryland team. When you look at them, really talented offensively. They've got pros on the offensive line, at receiver, at tight end, and they certainly have a pro at quarterback. He is as dangerous, as any quarterback in America. And defensively, they're really athletic. I mean, they've got 19 takeaways. When you look at a team that has a bunch of takeaways, they get after the passer. They're really fast. They run to the ball. Their two safeties are as good as there is in America. So they're a really good football team. And, I think they just hit kind of a stretch in the middle of the year. Don't really know. But they played really well Saturday and had every opportunity to knock off Michigan. So we know what we're in for, and it's going to be a battle. We both find ourselves in a similar position at 6-5, and a lot of respect for what they do, and looking forward to playing the game. So I'll try to help you with any way I can.
After playing three of the best defenses in the country the last 3 games, will this be more of an indication of where your offense is playing against Maryland?
Unfortunately, Maryland's really good on defense. I think they're somewhere, they're in the top 40 in defense in the country. I was kind of hoping when I throw the tape on that I was going to see a defense that was kind of so-so and we could get back on track. These guys are really good. But that's life, as I said, life in the Big Ten. But, our guys, we're beat up. I'm sure they're beat up. It's the end of the season. I'm not sure at some positions who's going to play. I'm quite frank with you. I'm not going to get into who, competitive advantage, but it caught up with us Saturday from a physical standpoint. We are going to have to really muster it up to be able to play the level of football you're going to need to play to win a game against a team like Maryland.
Seniors, when you got here, in what ways did you kind of look to them to kind of help establish your culture and kind of guide the younger players through that transition and get to where you are right now?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I made it real clear when I came back. The first probably